3, 2, 1. Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan. Welcome to another mini marathon. We're broadcasting live right now. We're going to do a little bit of Batman the Animated Series. And look, it's the Day Ghost!
I just realized I don't know where my straw went for my drink. I don't know if I brought it with me.
Well, that's very important. We can't go anywhere without a straw. We just can't get started if Austin can't drink his beverage.
I'm just gonna have to drink it like an adult, I guess. Just take the lid off.
You're reminding me right now of Zephyr Cochrane in Star Trek First Contact, where he won't do the first warp flight unless he's got his music where he can listen to Magic Carpet Ride for all of 15 seconds.
Magic Carpet Ride is a freaking awesome song, so I can get down with that.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Dream.
We're going to do some more somewhat blind commentaries, although I rewatched a couple of episodes for this, but the rest of them will be the first time I've seen these in a little while. We're going to do 6 episodes tonight of Batman, the Animated Series, and we're doing this because we had an episode request from one of our patrons, John McClane, which I still am pretty sure is not his real name, especially considering that the first thing I think that he requested was Die Hard. So I assume he's just a big Die Hard fan. But maybe his name is actually John McClane, and that's why he's such a big Die Hard fan. It's really hard to say. I've asked him. He's not told me. Anyway, so he wanted us to do a review or commentary on Time Out of Joint, which is the second Clock King episode. I haven't ever done anything on that. And I was like, well, we could do it as commentaries. We could do it as one of these little mini marathon things. Why don't you pick another one? And so he also picked Bane, and then we decided to let you guys nominate some other episodes. And Austin and I each picked 2 from your list. And thanks to everybody who participated on that from the community tab. Did you not pull from that list? Did you just pull random things?
I forgot, but I did read through all the suggestions. I'm sure the ones I picked are on there, but it was like 5 minutes before we started. You're like, "What are you picking?" And I was like,
That's not true. I asked you an hour before we started if you picked things yet.
Time works differently here. My seconds.
It's out of joint, I guess.
Yeah, my seconds aren't seconds.
Okay, well, I picked 2 things that were requested by you guys, and Austin never plays by the rules, so we shouldn't expect that at this point. I'm hearing from some folks saying that they're watching on Blu-ray discs as opposed to HBO Max, and I know Austin's doing the same thing because he's in Canada, and Canada is also out of joint and won't let people use HBO Max. Which is sad.
No, we're out of touch, out of mind,
out of everything,
heads,
out of sense,
not around.
Yeah, it sounds like it just sounds like it sucks to be Canadian. That's all. I'm just kidding. I like to give Austin crap about Canada, mostly because it makes my life inconvenient. It's not his fault.
Yeah, he's like, do you know how hard it is to live day to day knowing that you drink milk out of a bag?
I can't deal with it. I just can't have it. Anyway, so we're going to give you guys a little bit of time in between episodes tonight to find your episodes, and I may try to... We put the episode list together kind of at the last minute, and so I may have to look at the list and figure out the actual order of the episodes on the Blu-rays so that you don't have to jump around so much with the discs, Austin, but it's complicated because the list I'm looking at is the dumb aired order that HBO Max is using. It's just the... Have you looked at that list? Because the order is the worst.
The aired order?
They put it in the aired order. Yeah. You've got
HBO Max.
Yeah, you've got Cat in the Claw with 3 episodes in between the 2-parter.
That's ridiculous.
Why would you do that?
Imagine you're a kid and you're like, I'm going to watch this Batman show, and you click the first episode and it's the Cat in the Claw.
Yeah, where you get to listen to Captain Janeway with the worst possible Russian accent. And then hilariously, later on, she's in Orange is the New Black and has a much better Russian accent.
Well, and like Noah in the comments, he told me that like 6 times in one week, and every single time, the second he told me that Janeway was the Claw, I just immediately forgot. And then you told me that, immediately
Yeah,
forgot.
it's
And then
Kate
I watched
Mulgrew.
that episode, and it was like, oh yeah, it's this person.
That's who that is. It's Kate Mulgrew.
Yeah.
But I did want to start with the 2 episodes that were requested tonight, in case something weird happens and we're not able to do the rest of the stream, because we did start this as a requested thing. So this is also the request this week, but not under that moniker. So we're going to begin with nobody's favorite episode of Batman the Animated Series, Bane. It is on HBO Max, Season 2, Episode 6. It's weird the way this thing is broken up. Season 1, Austin, is like 65 episodes, and then Season 2 is a lot shorter, and then Season 3 is the revamped, Bat Family season. And when this came out on DVD, they did it in 4 volumes, and for the longest time, I was confused by that and thought that there were 4 seasons, but that's actually not really accurate. They just did a big, giant batch initially, and then they came back and did, like, I don't know what it was, 20 more.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And then the New Adventures season. So the 2 episodes that we're going to be watching, I want to say that John probably picked these because they're episodes that I've not done commentaries on before, because of course I used to have a series on this show called Bat Chat, and did a lot of commentaries up through the first few episodes of what would have been Volume 2 of the DVDs, and I stopped those quite a while back, and I kind of missed doing that and wish we had finished that. For lots of different reasons that didn't happen, so it's going to be great to finally tackle a few things that I've not weighed in on and that I haven't seen in a long time, and a couple of episodes that I have. So anyway, let's go ahead and get right into it. Bane, like I said, if you're watching on HBO Max, it's Season 2, Episode 6. Do you have yours pulled out already, Austin? In the player?
What?
Ready to go?
Yeah, it's on timestamp 0.
No, I'm just making sure. In case you needed more time.
No, we're good. Robert Wilde just explained my background. I just found this because it looked funny. I just Googled Batman. This came up. Apparently, Robert Pattinson auditioned for Batman in the George Clooney cowl. That's nuts.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
I didn't know that. I just picked that because it's a funny image.
Those suits get around, man.
That's nuts. That's kind of embarrassing.
Because you know about the thing with the Birds of Prey show, right?
No.
That for the Batgirl suit in that show,
I did
They
know
took
that.
the Batgirl suit from Batman and Robin, and they just painted it differently, and it looks so good you can't even tell it was from that movie. I'm not even making fun of them for doing that. It's a legitimately great suit, but it started with the Alicia Silverstone suit.
No, if I auditioned Batman, the person who beat me was the guy from Twilight in a George Clooney cowl, I'd probably kill myself, to be honest.
But I mean, the guy's a legitimately good actor.
No, I know. No, Robert Pattinson's great. It's just, I just think that's funny.
I would come in an Adam West suit, of course, and be like, where are the other drugs going?
That's more dignified.
It might be. It's more Batman.
Imagine if he showed up in the George Clooney suit from the end of Batman and Robin.
Then no matter how good of an actor he was, there's no way, because you couldn't picture it, right? Feel like you're in this crazy ice suit.
If it were Tim Burton, he would hide under a table if he saw that.
See, I want to imagine somebody wearing the 60s Batman suit, doing a Christian Bale voice, and then, or Christian Bale himself, and just doing like 60s Batman lines. It's just like, confounded, the batteries are dead.
Confounded, Robin. It's like him at the end of Dark Knight where he's constantly out of breath.
He's just constantly out of breath. But he seemed constantly out of breath anyway through most of that movie. What a way to go.
I used to do that voice a lot as a teenager, and it would, if I did it for too long, it would make me lightheaded. So I get it.
Well, let's go ahead and watch this show, shall we? It's Bane, and it'll be interesting to see what some of our audience thinks about this episode, because it's a lot of people consider this kind of a misstep, and this is not one of the better episodes. But it will be.
This could be John McClane's favorite episode, though. To be fair, or second favorite episode.
Well, it wasn't the first one he picked, and he just seemed to be. It was almost like he picked out of a hat. He was like, I don't know, Bane.
No, he was like, "Welcome to the party, Bane," and then he gave you that as a suggestion.
He just spun a wheel. All right, here we go. Everybody, get ready to press play when I say now. I'm about to do that. Timestamp 0, and if, however you're watching it, you end up with the old intro, you're likely to be a few seconds ahead or behind us. Sorry about that. Hopefully the Blu-rays, and I think they do. I don't have those yet.
It does have a different.
But hopefully,
when it started to play.
But hopefully they have. Say that again.
It does have a different intro, because it when it started to play, I was like, "Oh, this isn't the traditional."
It should have the Batman and Robin intro. The Adventures of Batman and Robin intro. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Everybody, please press play right now.
Have you ever seen this? So this isn't the the same intro, but have you seen the proof of concept footage that they made? That's just that intro.
Yeah, I have. It's been a long time.
I didn't know about that until recently, because I've been going through the show, and Doolittle, he showed it to me.
Oh, I thought we were just looking at special features, because I think on the DVDs
no.
they had that, where you could just watch it on the special features.
No, I was on Discord while I was watching an episode, and he asked me if I'd ever seen it, and I hadn't, so he sent it to me. And it's interesting. It's a lot more cartoony.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird to see those models move like that. Like, they're shooting at Batman, and he's like...
It's real exaggerated, yeah.
Yeah. And it's very strange.
Well, it's because that was more pure Fleischer. So, like, the initial proof of concept was to make it like Fleischer, and then they used that eventually as more of, just an initial influence, as opposed to we're going to straight up do Fleischer. And that's why it looked a little bit more cartoony.
Even the title card is kind of lame.
It's not great. It really feels like nobody really wanted to make this episode, and it was somewhat obligatory. And yet there's this conscious attempt to make Bane, even though he's kind of just a standard heavy and a hired assassin, still have a little bit of presence and still have some of the personality he has in the comics. Like, it's really weird. It's like nobody really wanted to use this character, but they also didn't want to piss off anybody that really liked this character because he was so popular. So they were trying to show some... It's kind of like maybe Raimi and Spider-Man 3 a little bit, where it's like, I don't like Venom, but I know people like Venom, so I don't want to make it... And like, well, that's not it's not a great analogy, because it's not a great example, but like, obviously you're watching that movie and it's like, okay, Raimi knows people like Venom, but he doesn't care about Venom. This watch is like that.
Worse, Cap. I didn't know this until recently. He had a really cool take on Venom that Sony like butchered.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like there was a whole thing with the end of that movie.
Real quick, put a pin in this. Batman is probably getting this girl killed by the end of this episode. Just put a pin in that. Batman will be responsible for her death unless she shows up in a later episode and I don't remember it. But if she's not killed by Rupert Thorne at the end of this, Thorne is a nicer guy than we thought he was. So what was his take on Venom?
Okay, so the whole thing was that like the symbiote's like it's eating you, right? Like that's what it is. So like Venom towards the end of the climax, he would stop peeling his face back and he would just be Venom. And then when he like morphs out, like the way he does at the end of that movie, there wouldn't be an Eddie Brock. It would just be a skeleton in the suit because he ate Eddie Brock. And I'm like, that sounds so much cooler. And then they were like, nah, you can't do that.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
And their Eddie Brock said nothing. They should have done that. That would have been great.
Yeah, and like that's why the Venom suit like grows big, is because it consumed Eddie Brock and it has more mass.
So Bane in just a regular suit with a luchador mask is a hilarious image, and maybe not the way you want to introduce that character.
Well, I think the unfortunate thing with Bane with this is that this isn't what they like about Batman. They like older stuff with Batman, so Like, this isn't in their wheelhouse, and now they just have to do it.
So, you say that, but here's what's weird about it, because I had that thought too, but then there's a number of things that they adapt and borrow from that weren't that long before this that don't seem as obligatory. Because you think about it, this show starts in, what, 92? And they're doing a lot of mid-late 80s stuff that couldn't have been more than 6, 7, 8 years old. And Bane, like, just happened, of course. I mean, like Nightfall is going on as the show starts. And so Bane as a character is only a couple years old by the time they do this. But stuff like the ventriloquist isn't more than 4 or 5 years old before they use him.
That is true. I always just think of them as being much more like early Batman up to like 80s, specifically like 70s and 80s Batman. But no, that is fair. And I forgot that.
But it's easy to forget when you go to 80s that this is only a few years after the mid 80s. Like,
also too, this is another conversation I had with Doolittle while I was watching this. Is I also think Scarface kind of fits in a place where he could easily be a 40s Batman villain.
That's true.
It just kind of came later. So that probably also helps.
Well, and the thing is, they like more psychologically complex and damaged characters and characters that are foils for Batman in more of a psychological kind of way, and Bane actually does kind of have that to some degree, but the problem is it's so dark that, like, some of the question with this is it just that they didn't have a great take with this character, or that they had to kind of, like, gut what was most interesting about him just to get it past the censors?
Yeah, well, yeah, and that could be too. Well, and they're not as much into the like serialized stuff, so it's not like they were gonna go for a full Nightfall. No,
but like Bane's difficult to do in just one part if you're gonna do anything with his, like, building himself up initially in the prison and why he's as hardened as he is, and give him anything like the motivation that he has in the comics to go after Batman in the first place. So here they're like, well, how do we do this in 22 minutes?
I forgot Bane had this silly voice.
He does. He's a hitman. And then they've got Croc written kind of out of character in places where he's got, like, vocabulary and puts words together in ways that he just never would. Where he's like, it's a South American accent. It's really funny.
Well, I forgot Killer Croc was even in this episode, because I picked a Killer Croc episode because he's one of my favorite Batman villains. If I knew that he was in this one, I probably wouldn't have picked that.
Well, it's not too late to change your mind, I guess.
That I did, because I picked one where he's awesome and not like this.
Well, and it's interesting that they chose Croc for this because he's toward the beginning of Nightfall and gets taken out by Bane real early, and Bane's like I'm sure that's part of why he's chosen here. Also, Robin getting kidnapped by Bane and trussed up like he is in this. It's not exactly that situation, but it's kind of similar, and it all happens in the sewer. So they're looking at the earliest issues of Nightfall before the Arkham prison break. And Bane goes up against Croc and is like, really, like this is the caliber of the.
Yeah, isn't there like the part in that where like Robin is like he like falls down the sewer or something like that?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that's one of the things I remember from that book. It's been a few years because I read that when Rises came out, so it's been a few years. But there's certain things from Nightfall that really stick out to me that I always think about. Another big one that always stuck with me is the Victor Zsasz issue. After they all break out.
See, what's interesting about their version of Bane here is I think retroactively we could be told that he's actually exactly the same character he is in the comics and has even some of the same motivation, but that he's just going around as a really well-paid assassin because he knows that he's good enough that he can command the $5 million he's asking for, and that he just uses that to build up resources. And like he wouldn't be able to have the thing he does in the prison where he has that weird vision of a bat creature, and then Batman, and then it turns out that, like, in his mind, like, king or ruler of Gotham is a bat-themed character that he's got to go prove that he's better than, just because he clearly hasn't had that in this episode, but, like, everything else could more or less be intact, and obviously, it isn't the couple more times we do Bane after this in this continuity, because he's just kind of like, big monster angry guy who still wants to break Batman just because that's the thing we remember from the comics. But his general attitude in this is kind of like it is in the comics. But we've just really dwindled the character down to, well, he came from a prison and he got experimented on and he does the Venom thing and he gets real big and he is kind of full of himself and thinks that he is indestructible. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, well, and this sets a precedent because Bane always sucks when we adapt him. And we always do he's a big brute. Like, he's always just that kind of a character.
Yeah, well, and then in Rises, it seemed for quite a while like it was a little bit more sophisticated and he had more character dimension than that. And then retroactively, by the end, it's like, oh, and he's just working for somebody else, and I don't really understand what his motivations are at all. And all of that was just a red herring to, get us off the trail of something far less interesting than the revolutionary character we thought we were getting. Because what he does, and I don't want to get into a review of Rises again right now, but the whole revolution thing in that movie seems like precisely something that Bane in the comics would do. This whole kind of misdirection thing.
Yeah. But he also has the voice of a Muppet for the entire film, so I can't take him seriously through any of it.
I still say that if only the plot had been his and the motivations actually lined up and the landing was stuck at the end, we all could have been turned around on that a little bit.
I don't think I could be,
because I can see that, but I see the point of it.
But it's not a Bane thing for me. I think Tom Hardy is a great actor until he has to speak, and every time he speaks in almost any movie, I can't take him seriously because he always has a stupid voice. The Bane is just the farthest.
I get that, but I think that voice is a lot less stupid in a smarter context. I really do, because I love and I talked about this when I did the rewind, but I love the idea of his playing not on people's fears but on people's hopes. So he's doing the most horrifying possible things to you, especially psychologically, and then everything he says has an upswing, it's positive. I love that idea. Mm-hmm. But anyway, this Bane.
Yeah, that is just the thing, though, is we always just kind of, when we adapt Bane, he's just kind of a giant brute. Because that's also Arkham Bane. That's the best Bane, which is Batman and Robin.
Well, and Tom put in a super chat and said, one might say this episode is a Bane voice bomb. I don't know what that means, except he's obviously quoting Batman and Robin. But see, in this, he is used for the sake of the story as a brute, but he's clearly supposed to be, if not the smartest man in the room, the smartest man before you get to Batman. He's supposed to be a smarter guy in this, pretty clearly, because he is commanding, so much money in order to, take people out. He's always one step ahead. It's just his motivations aren't all that interesting. He's just, he can. The idea seems to be, some idiots made me indestructible and didn't realize that I had ingenuity and ability beyond how strong I was, and so I'm gonna take what they gave me and become the rich and the best version of myself.
Well, I'm sure I'm probably missing.
Somebody's
some
watching
stuff with
cartoons.
Bane, 'cause it has been a while. Oh yeah, he's watching like Fritz, not Fritz the cat, or not Fritz the cat, Felix the cat. Those are completely.
Those are very different things. I wasn't gonna correct you. Well, this seems like an awkward moment for Robin. Like, how long were she and he standing there on that pier before the camera showed up?
Long enough for it to be awkward. That I can
Exactly.
tell you.
That's what I'm saying. The basic cookie cutter story here or formula here is kind of a 60s Batman episode. Because, like, now we got the death trap, and the water, and then they leave, and the water's rising, and he's going to have just enough time for Batman to show up. The storyboarding in this episode is top-notch.
Yeah, no, this show does, always look good, even in some of the weaker episodes.
Yeah, well, and they've really refined things by this point.
Yeah. Yeah, they're far enough into it, too, that there's not as much, like, rough edges.
When you go back to 87 Ninja Turtles, people always talk about the Red Sky season later on, where they tried to make that show seem more serious. And I think the way they did that was by just ripping off this show. They just went, hey, that serious superhero show everybody loves, that Batman show, it's always red skies.
No, whenever I think about Red Skies stuff, it's always this. Like,
yeah.
Whenever something does Red Skies, I mean.
It's the show.
It's the show.
Tom says in another super chat, good thing this isn't Batman versus Harley.
I mean, you could have sent a super chat saying, good thing you're not being waterboarded. Like, yeah, I'm going to agree with you.
Oh, is he just talking about that movie? Is that what he meant?
Yeah, like, it's, at least we're not watching that.
Oh, okay. Well, that wasn't Batman versus
like...
Harley. That was Batman Harley Quinn was the name of that movie. And I thought he just meant, like... I didn't know what he was talking about. I thought maybe he was like, well, I'd rather watch Bane than Harley Quinn. I couldn't figure out what he was talking about.
I will break you. What a guy.
See, simultaneously, it seems like they're trying not to make Bane seem too lame by giving him a little bit of presence and obviously a lot of confidence and egotism and stuff, and then we knock him off a pier with the grapple gun, and it's like, you've never seen that happen to any villain in this show. It makes him seem like the biggest loser. Where Batman just... And I mean, like, I guess it makes Batman look like he's just using his own ingenuity, his own resourcefulness. But doing it to Bane of all people, like, I will break... Ah!
I guess I do
like
that they did make Bane Hispanic. That is something that we don't do, like, all the time.
Yeah.
So I guess I do like that.
Well, and I don't know if that's what Tom Hardy was attempting to do or not.
Oh, I don't
know what that voice was supposed to be.
Yeah. It's really weird that we haven't done that in a movie. I don't know, maybe eventually we'll get that.
I'm from South America!
Okay, this Robin stuff's getting even more uncomfortable. I don't like this.
And I don't, for the life of me, understand what Robin's strategy is here, because he's like, yeah, come on down here so I can beat you up, and then she comes down and holds her own really well, and all he had to do was not taunt her. Like, he's having a really hard time not drowning right now.
I think the only strategy was that Bruce Timm is a kind of a pervert.
Oh, okay. That may be what's going on there, unfortunately. I do like, just for the sake of, like, setup and payoff with the scene, that Bane underestimates Batman, grabs the Batarang that Batman throws, and it's like, oh, you're just throwing puny toys at me? Then Batman's going to pull out another one that he's not expecting, and that's how he's going to cut off the Venom. That's kind of classic.
It is kind of funny
storyboarding.
that the whole, like, you just have toys thing comes right after he got shot away with the grapple gun. Whenever I think of this episode, this is the main thing I think of, is how weird this ending with Bane.
It is, and it's... I mean, you gotta give it that it's legitimately disturbing, and that's what they're going for, but it's also unintentionally funny.
It's definitely funny.
Why are we doing that?
He just pulled a Goldeneye. He just yelled "I am invincible."
And then the biggest insult that makes you question whether I was right at the beginning of this, of whether they have any reverence for this character at all, or at least trying to make it seem like they do for fans of this, to not, insult anybody that really likes this character. Like, we don't want to throw you guys under the bus. Like, we know this character's really popular. But then that moment where he's just like really sad and lame, and it's just like, Bane's just a guy. And
I like
he gets his luchador mask off, and he's kind of nothing.
No, I like that he's holding Bane, and Bane is doing, like, the Mortal Kombat finish him, like, that move.
Yeah. He's just waiting for Batman to do a fatality.
Yeah, and then Batman didn't, so he just fell.
So that's what I was talking about, where Rupert Thorne's henchwoman, who's been there with him in previous episodes of Memory Serves,
she's in the Two-Face thing.
That's right. That's what it was. Tries to double cross Thorne with Bane. Batman audio recorded it and then plays it for Thorne at the end. And then Thorne just like screams her name at the end, and Batman walks off, and you're like, she's dead. Like, Batman just got her killed. Because he basically has evidence that she was ready to more than throw him under the bus. Like, he was dead. Why would he even keep her around? And I don't know if she shows up again, but she shouldn't. I'm also not sure how much Thorne there is after this, because there's a bunch of Rupert Thorne in the first season, and we're starting to get past the Thorne stuff at this point, where he's not going to be in, like, every other episode like it felt like he was before. But I haven't watched the show in order in so long.
Yeah,
that I don't remember how much more you'll see Thorne.
But I always thought their take on him was really interesting, because Rupert Thorne is the gangster in the comics. He was like a governor, I think. So it's really interesting that they made that change for this.
I always forget that he's even a comic character, because
he's in the Englehart run. Have you ever reviewed the Englehart stuff, Cap?
A little bit of it.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, if you've never reviewed that, we should tackle that at some point, because Englehardt's Batman is awesome.
Yeah. We've done. Eric and I a few years ago did the Laughing Fish stuff, and right around that, I think in the same trade even, was the Hugo Strange stuff.
That's because
they adapt both of those for the show.
Yeah, because the thing with Rupert Thorne, how his story ends with that.
Sorry, while Austin is talking, the next episode we're doing is Time Out of Joint, which in HBO Max is only 2 or 3 episodes after this one.
What's it called again?
Time Out of Joint.
Time Out of Joint. Let's see. But yeah, the ending with Rupert Thorne is that he's like driving his car, and then a ghost of Hugo Strange like flies at him, and he crashes his car, and I think he dies after that. Oh, Time Out of Joint. This is 2 episodes before Bane. That works out. I don't have to change the disc.
Oh, weird, because here it's 4 episodes after Bane, and we're going to do Second Chance tonight, and that is also right around there. Second Chance is actually the one after Bane on HBO Max. But we're going to watch Time Out of Joint next, because that was the next requested thing, and I just want to make sure that if we get nothing else done tonight, we watch those 2.
No, absolutely.
So, guys, if you're watching on HBO Max, this is Season 2, Episode 10, Time Out of Joint. And if you have the Blu-rays, Austin can probably tell you what disc it's on.
Yeah, it's season 2, disc 1. It's the same disc as Bane. It's just 2 episodes before it.
That was the other reason I wanted to do these in order, because I thought it would be close. OAW, thanks for the super chat, man. Shout out to my favorite YouTubers. Keep up the good work, gents. What a nice thing to say. Thanks a bunch, man. Thanks for watching some Batman with us. Unless you just popped in to say that.
$5 for your favorite YouTubers, though?
Pay no attention to Austin.
Or the man behind the curtain. Yes, Noah, this stars Temo Fugit. That is certainly the villain.
Daniel Davis agrees with me. She's dead.
Well, have you ever seen Transformers? Maybe it's like a Megatron Starscream situation.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah, where Rupert Korn is like, "Woman, you darn thing, you. Get back to work now."
We are going to watch What Is Reality tonight, Robert Wild. He says I don't like that episode. I don't remember what I said when we did the commentary on it all those years ago. I do remember having issues with it.
Yeah, which is that the second Riddler episode?
It's the second Riddler episode, yeah.
I mainly just remember their first Riddler episode, because that one's really great.
At least one, if not a couple people nominated that one because we just did Tron last week. And
I did see that, yeah.
Tron was reminding me of the first Riddler episode, but then when he comes back, it's even more like Tron because we actually go into not just like a physical maze that's based on a video game, but into an actual video game, like with Tron. So it made a lot of sense to do that tonight. And there's some really cool stuff in the animation with that that I like a lot. But
yeah, I feel like that's going to be one of those episodes that when we start watching it, it's all going to like come back to me. But off the top of my head, I'm struggling to remember a lot about that one. That's kind of nice because I've been going through the show recently.
Yeah.
And, most of these, except for the ones that I picked, are ones that I haven't rewatched.
Well, that's unfortunate.
I know. Curse you, me, for doing that.
Dale Davis says I was pretty negative on it. Well, I've slept since then, and I haven't watched it in a long time, so we'll reevaluate it while we're talking over it, which is completely unfair.
Riddle me this, Cap. Why were you so negative about that episode?
I don't remember. I always feel like I have some sort of duty to remember every single thing I've ever said, and then I'm like, nobody can do that.
What would you do if you went to see the Batman in the theater in like 2 weeks, and it was just a remake of that episode, but for 3 hours?
I mean, the first two words that come to mind is bold choice.
Well,
dated choice as well. I mean, I think one of the things I thought was weird about it was just how dated it was. Mm-hmm. And it's weird because things have like swung back now where people are buying virtual reality. Like one of the things that made that feel so dated was because the kind of obsession with virtual reality headsets in the 90s was a thing that went away very quickly. And now the technology got better and we have Oculus and stuff, and people are actually doing that now, and the 90s was right, I guess. But it's, I don't know, it still feels weirdly too contemporary for a show that was so out of time, and such a combination of different eras. And then just right in the middle of that, they do a premise that feels... That can't have been my only issue with it, but they have a premise that feels like it belonged more in like a 90s Spider-Man episode or something.
No, I hope that movie is just super 90s dated, and there's like scenes where Batman's like typing at a computer and he's like, "Alfred, Riddler's hacking me in real time," and then they have like action hacking shots. That'd be awesome.
Because like Spider-Man was the show that would like make up things that you'd only have in the 90s, like neogenics, and just say it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let me put it this way, Cap. How would you feel if you went to see that movie and it was like this really dark dark crime drama, but there was just one scene where Batman walked into a crime scene, and he's like, "What's happening, Gordon?" And Gordon turns and he's like, "The Riddler came and he drained this man of all of his plasma, Batman. He destroyed him." And it's just like that 90s like censorship thing.
I think it would be really, yeah, they can't even say kill or death. It's just destroyed him.
Yeah, he removed all his plasma.
Honestly, I think even in that case, we've not seen either of these movies yet, so who really knows? But in that case, I think the joke would really be on Morbius, right? Because Morbius got put off again and is going to come out after the Batman now. And you'd have a Batman movie where plasma gets stolen from people, but not blood, and Morbius would probably have, like, actual blood and gore and stuff, and still probably not as well written as that Batman movie, no matter what that is. I'll be shocked if that's not the case.
So Spider-Man Homecoming and Wonder Woman came out the same summer, and Spider-Man was the movie that had an invisible jet. I will call it now that the Batman will have more references to plasma than the Morbius movie.
We're going to start this episode here in a second. Let me read a couple super chats. Noah, $5 super chat. What's worse, Batman or Harley Quinn or Mystery of the Batwoman? Easily Batman or Harley Quinn. Because Mystery
because Mystery of the Batwoman's pretty good.
Oh, I disagree wholeheartedly.
Really?
I think that movie is pathetic. But,
okay.
yeah.
I thought it was like Mask of the Phantasm and then like just a little bit like Mystery of the Batwoman, which is kind of under it. It didn't hit those highs, but it's not like that crazy.
Wow, you're the only person I've ever heard say that. Yeah, it doesn't. In certain ways, it doesn't feel like it even should fit in that continuity as part of it. But then you have a movie with the word mystery in the title, and there's no mystery, and like that's irritating. Like it's really obvious all the way through who the Batwoman is, and then they make it really clear to me. It's not just that it's predictable; it's that the audience knows, like, who the Batwoman is. And
I didn't realize you hated that movie.
I don't hate it. I just think it's lame. Like it's just I just don't think it's a very good movie.
A little heartbroken, but okay.
Wow. Like I think like, I don't like Sub-Zero, but I think it's written better than that, even though it's boring.
Oh, wow. I thought it was, like, Sub-Zero was way worse than Mystery.
No, I would put Sub-Zero actually over that movie, and that tells you how I feel about Batwoman, because Sub-Zero is way below Phantasm. No, and how long has it been since you went back to Batwoman? Because...
it was last week I rewatched it.
No, you didn't. There's no way you've seen that recently.
Yeah, no, I did.
Really?
Last week I watched Mask of the Phantasm. I watched all 3 of those movies.
Okay. That's cool. I don't think that movie works at all. OAW, you tell Austin that I am geekier than the Day Ghost, and he only won because I wasn't on the show. Yes, I'm calling him out.
Robert Wild.
He gave us a super chat to call you out and say you're not very geeky. Sorry, what?
Robert Wild asked if I like Return of the Joker. Not really. It's okay.
You don't like Return of the Joker?
It's okay.
Let's just watch this. This is Austin from the Mirror Universe, apparently. Okay, here we go. Season 2, Episode 10, according to HBO Max. Time out of joint. It's the second Clock King episode. Let's go ahead and get started. Everybody get ready to press play. When I say now, I'm just about to do that. Everybody press play right now. AMC Comics says, I thought Cap actually liked Mystery of the Batwoman when he watched it for Batmania. Again, I don't remember what my experience was talking over it with Eric. It's been a long time. Maybe I liked it better then, and I'm just going with my memories from before that. I haven't done a rewind on it or anything.
Yeah, no, Mystery of the Batwoman's pretty good.
It'll be interesting if I have a change of heart on that, or if I already have and I don't realize it.
Yeah.
Such things are possible.
No,
I have a bone to pick with this intro real quick because I wanted to say this last time on the last episode, but I don't like it when intros in using footage from previous episodes use footage of a person talking when it's all action around it. That's always silly to me. Where you just have a shot of Batman going, like in the middle of the explosions and people falling, and then there's just a shot where it's just Batman going. I'm glad that even though they went with an intro that used footage from previous episodes, and that feels kind of like classic. The way it's cut, it feels like it's cut like movie serials. So like I like that about it. But if we had to do that, I think it's nice that we still kept the title cards, because once we get to later shows in this continuity, we quit doing the title cards, and I always miss that.
Everybody's mad that I said that about Return of the Joker. Guys, Return of the Joker is pretty good.
Okay, so crazy reference I'm about to make, and I don't know if this was like a well-known British actor that was in a bunch of other movies that I've not seen, but I've not looked this up, but I guarantee you, because it's too much of a clear caricature, and I can't imagine any more than one person on the planet ever looked like this guy, but the guy that is calling the auction here looks exactly like this really cartoonish, crazy, like, what was he? Like, councilman character in, of all things, Danger Diabolic? Because I went back and watched that movie like a month ago, and Jason just kept cracking up at this guy with, like, the gap in his teeth, who was like laughing hysterically and being insane, and then I watched this episode. There he is in animation form. It's the same guy. He's got the same mustache. He's got exactly the same hair. He's got the same weird smile. It's that guy. I don't know what he's doing in this episode.
It is sad for me to see Clock King come back, because his ending in that first Clock King episode is my favorite thing in this entire show, where he runs away, turns into a still image where he's like this, and he's like, I forget, he yells something at Batman, but it's not animated, and then he just stands there frozen solid for like 5 seconds, and then gears fall and kill him.
This show, of course, always had a really good sense of continuity, even though it was mostly episodic, and very often when we would bring back a villain, it would be a direct sequel to the episode from before, and particularly in cases like this where we didn't have plans to constantly keep bringing him back. So, like, Joker had his own set of rules. We almost never mentioned last time we saw the Joker. Like, he, just like in a lot of 80s comics, like and before, he'd disappear at the end of an episode. He'd fall in some water. He'd seem to explode, and then you'd see him again. He'd blow up in something. You see him later on. He survived it somehow. He's the Joker. But pretty much everybody else,
for a while, too.
Pretty much everybody else, when we bring them back, we would talk about what happened the last time we saw them, and how they escaped, or what they've been doing in the interim and all of that. And this is no exception to that.
Yeah, I was thinking about this recently, because one of the last episodes I watched, and going through it recently, was Perchance to Dream. And I think it's really weird that there are, like, the first 2 Mad Hatter episodes have, like, 1 episode in between them in production order.
That is
I think
weird.
that is a little strange, but also...
What I like about that, if they actually aired it that way, is he'd be the last person you'd expect, because you just saw him.
Yeah, no, that part is cool. But I also like that at the end of that episode, he's like...
I never comment on this. I like the architecture of this house.
It is pretty cool, yeah. But I forgot that Matt...
This guy's the Kingpin.
That episode is like, you ruined my chance with Alice.
This guy's the voice of the Kingpin in 90s Spider-Man.
Oh, of course he is.
He also looks like Hugo Strange if he aged 30 more years in this show.
And if he was black.
And if he was black. Well, I guess he's supposed to be black. I wasn't totally sure. But yeah, I guess he is. Well, he's voiced by a man who is black, but voices a lot of white characters, or some white characters, because the Kingpin is white.
Yeah. But
in that
he's
show.
also visibly.
No, he is.
What?
Now that I'm looking at it again, you're right. He is visibly black. I just looked at this again and I was like, I don't know. Is he? I guess he is.
He's just old.
He's just old.
He's like he's like you won't get this, but the audience will. He's like that like grandmother character in SpongeBob that wants chocolate. She's just like a broken husk. She's that old.
Oh, I didn't think of this before. The time dilation device is a Mobius strip.
Oh yeah.
That's intentional. That's actually kind of cool. When I was a kid, this whole thing seemed like a bridge way too far for this show. That you'd literally have a device that Clock King is carrying around that made it possible for him to manipulate time. You do this in a Justice League episode or even a Superman episode, and it's fine because those kinds of things are just in this world already. But obviously Batman goes to some science fiction places, but once we start messing with quantum theory, I'm like, I think we're kind of past the boundaries of this world too much.
Well, it's kind
and
of
I think
like
I still agree with my younger self with that. I couldn't get around it. I spent the whole episode going, we're going to find out at the end that that's not really what's happening, right? And it's like, no, Clock King really is slowing down time. And like it's the TNG episode Timescape. And I was like, they just did Timescape in Batman? Okay.
That's the Futurama finale.
And only a year after Timescape, or possibly even the same year. I think TNG and the show might have actually done this premise at the exact same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's that thing, right, where you're used to seeing Batman like fight aliens and stuff with Justice League, but you don't want that to be in a Batman story?
Or at the very least, you don't want it to be in this show, just because that's not what this show has been about.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, no, I can agree with that.
And like we can do some
Batman and Spider-Man, where it's I don't want to see them get past that street level.
Yeah, and like don't misunderstand me. We do pseudoscience stuff with this. We have robots. We have AI. Like we do traditional science fiction premises, but somehow
there's some
this
stuff like
is.
That I think goes too far for me.
This is almost like if you did an interdimensional story or you sent him to space. I don't know if you'd want to do that in this show, or if you did, there would need to be kind of like a status quo shift where Batman learns that something he thought was impossible or out of the realm of likelihood happens, and then now that's on the table, which Justice League has.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, retroactively, he's always lived in a world where all of that is possible. If you take this as canon with the rest of that, which it technically is, but tonally and genre-wise, we've pulled the curtain back a little bit, and yeah, I just think at this time for this show it was maybe a bridge too far.
Robert Wilde mentions that the Batman also does this premise with Clock King, and I think I saw that first as a kid.
But that show was inherently more of a science fiction show.
Yeah, no, I was just mentioning that because.
And more cartoony in the first place. Like it could totally get away with that from the word go, I think.
No, for sure. We should do that show when the Batman comes out.
That would be great, wouldn't it? What we should try to do is pick the most like sober street level episodes of that show. So like the Batman marathon should be us using that show to try to get as close to the Batman movie as we possibly can.
And then you should make sure that the thumbnail is of that movie so that we'll get more views.
So he just roped Clock King, and Clock King's just spinning, and that's really absurd.
What's a good trick? Oh my god, he's really spinning?
Yeah. It was like the Rhino in the Venom episode of 90s Spider-Man. It was that bad.
No, I'm like a few seconds behind, I think. So when you said he's spinning, he was just kind of turning a little. I was like,
and that was really funny. And then suddenly he's doing this. Some of the cartooniness of this episode is also a little bit of a bridge too far for this show, and a little bit disappointing for me because I like this character so much.
fell down the stairs.
in the first place. I just think we got a little bit too literal with the time thing with this, and didn't really know what else to do with him but that. Like, I wonder if... I don't hate this episode. It's fun, but I can't help but wonder...
Our villain's getting beat up by a fat woman.
I can't help but think it might have been better if we just left well enough alone, because that episode is so classic, and this feels like obligatory sequel territory. This is like when you make a bad sequel to a movie where you're trying too hard to not repeat yourself. And then in weird ways we do kind of repeat ourselves too, but like, he has the same motivation he did before. He's still after Hill. Now he's like, I'm after just government in general. We also could have called this episode Clock King versus the Batmobile. Like, at the beginning of this, he just totally wrecks the Batmobile. And then 2 scenes later, we see the car again just now, and it's fine. I don't know if Batman had a second one stashed away, or if he fixed it that fast, but that's weird in this continuity, because we have a whole episode about Batman getting his car messed up, and needing to take it to a guy to get it fixed. And then here, he just, 2 scenes later, it's fine.
Well, and John McClane must just like trashing the Batmobile, because Bane did in the last episode.
Oh, yeah. See, it was a theme. It was just really subtle.
I never thought about how funny Clock King is. He gets beat up by like this fat lady, and now he's like, well, "Hey, what are you doing in my room? Get out of there!"
No, he's fun because he lives so much in his own little world, and he has no self-awareness whatsoever. I think you could have done a bigger episode of Clock King that didn't have to resort to time travel shenanigans. You know, where he takes the skills he has, you know, as the efficiency manager, and he holds the city maybe like totally to ransom because he knows when everything's going to happen. Like wouldn't it be really cool if he did it like Clock King basically takes over the whole city because he knows when everything's going to happen. And like there's a little bit of that in that first episode, but we could have taken that to the nines. Like a guy that's able to that's able to like stop the stoplights from working properly and all of that, like all the mayhem that he can cause. Like if he gets back on his own again, why not just take that to its furthest conclusion?
Mm-hmm. I'm also just weird with stuff like this and time travel. Like not just this, but even Endgame.
And
like,
again, this isn't technically time
movie,
travel. This is time dilation. It's like...
Yeah, technically. But it's like that same kind of, you're like manipulating time.
Yeah.
I guess it's more so what I meant. But like, you get stuff like Endgame, like my soul shrivels every time Tony Stark goes, "I did it. I've invented time travel." And I'm like, that feels so weird.
Yeah. So the issue I've got with this scene is we're never told just how much time passed around them, and when they get back out of the car, because the idea is supposed to be that time is moving slower for them than, and I like the way it's visualized. It looks really cool. But time is moving a lot slower for them than it is outside, and Batman says like minutes are like hours. So when they get out of the Batmobile, it doesn't seem like any time has passed.
Yeah.
It didn't last that long, but like, even if it's been as much as 6 or 8 hours, that's 6 or 8 hours that Clock King's got on them now. And it doesn't seem like any time has passed. We're still wrecking the Batmobile.
I like that Batman has this whole like intellectual science jargon speech, and then it just cuts to Robin and goes, that's great.
The mechanic works overtime in this one. Yeah, clearly he must have.
Yeah,
RJ
I forgot
Godzilla.
that they did the whole mechanic thing in this.
Mm-hmm. in an episode I believe called The Mechanic.
That
I
would
think
make sense.
And I have done a commentary on that one.
He was doing the Thriller and he got frozen.
AMC Comics, so this is more about the first Clock King episode, but do you all think Mayor Hill intentionally made him late to that court date so that his firm would win? That was... I thought it was ambiguous in that episode where it could have gone kind of either way, but the way it plays is that, like, Clock King is paranoid about that and is blaming the mayor on something that was outside of his control because he wasn't thinking about the way his actions influenced other people, but that maybe he could have been doing that because he, like, I don't know that he's straight up a corrupt mayor, but there's this kind of hint of maybe he manipulates a little bit. So I don't know. I guess it's possible, but
I was just assumed Clock King was really petty.
Yeah.
And just kind of went,
I'm just having to think back to that episode. The more I'm thinking about it, yeah, maybe I'm not right about that, and that it wasn't ambiguous, and it was just
he's been a long
petty.
time for me, so. I don't know why that line was really funny. There's we gotta call the cops. You can't. I have no phones.
Yeah, I thought that was funny too.
Oh my god, it's the Yellow Brick Road.
So, seeing Batman working out in the daylight like this in this show is very surreal. Because it hardly ever happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the only other times I can remember that happening is Robin's Reckoning, which is just that ends with the sun rising.
And again, you see it all but like it's unceremonious here, almost like we do it all the time.
Mm.
And it almost feels like, I mean, maybe I'm overselling this, but it almost plays like that's part of the cartoony nature of this episode, is that we even go as far as Batman's just riding around in broad daylight in a silly like bat ear helmet that goes on top of his mask, which looks a lot sillier when everybody can point and laugh at it in the daylight than it does at night.
If only Robin had one of those helmets, but it's just like a domino helmet. A domino mask.
Oh, I forgot about that. AMC says, I agree, Cap, that I think it was intentionally ambiguous, but there is that lightning strike after Clock King reveals that the case was against his firm. Yeah, I forgot about that. No, Batman Robin became the Flash. I'm glad you said that, because I had that thought for a second. I
thought Roadrunner.
That it felt like the Speed Force. They're in the Speed Force right now.
Yeah, I guess it is like the Flash.
That Batman face. Not a face you see all the time with this character.
It's just a weird episode.
It's a very strange episode.
Batman was just in a ball of fire.
It feels pretty anachronistic to the show in a lot of ways.
Well, and this show does have episodes like that where it's like, it's very strange.
But there's some super neat animation in this episode, I think.
Clocking is such a loser.
Robin once again had his had the colors flipped on his.
Really?
Or is it supposed to be black behind it and yellow in front? I guess it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a second I thought they had that flipped, but I guess that's the way it's supposed to look. Once again, he gets, to your point earlier,
no way is still in it.
He gets thrown in the back of that truck and he's not moving. He's just like, yes.
It's not as good as him just frozen, like, and then he gets crushed. But okay, you know what? Never mind. I take back what I said. I'm okay with them continuing because they also left him on
Thomas
it.
Love just said it's Love Triangle Face on Smallville. That's great. Robert Wild, this episode is strangely more strange than The Strange Secret of Bruce Wayne. I agree with that. It's one of the weirder ones.
Is it stranger than the Underdwellers, though?
Very few things are, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that one.
I think that's one of the episodes I've seen the most, just because as a kid I had a DVD with like the first few episodes.
There's like this almost Murphy's Law thing with broadcast TV. At least there was when I was a kid, where the episodes that like freaked you out the most, or that bored you the most, or that if it was the first one you ever saw would make you not be a fan of that show, was the one that was on all the time. And that was one of those. That episode was on all the time.
Mm-hmm. No, I always think back to like that episode and the one where Bruce Wayne has white hair and he's in the like prison camp.
Yeah, I hate that one. I was thinking of that too when you brought that up. With the like 400-pound guy in the camp with the
and he's
barbed wire fence,
chicken, and he's like, oh, I like
he's like eating a turkey wing.
Yeah.
What is that episode?
I don't know. I can't answer that. I gotta go switch discs. I'll be right back.
You just can't even with that. Okay, well, hold on, because before you go, I just wanted to tell everybody I actually want to take a break here, so so everybody will have a chance to change over their disc, but also get a drink, go to the bathroom, whatever you want to do. So, like, I don't know, 3-4 minutes, and then we'll reconvene, and we'll watch the next couple of episodes. The next one is What is Reality? And I wanted to pull up where that is on HBO Max before I ran off. There is indeed The Underdwellers. Oh, God. What is Reality is episode 45 on HBO Max. It's so weird if you actually watch this in this order, because only 41 is If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? So you're watching the second Riddler episode 4 episodes after the first one.
Right after, yeah.
Very strange.
It's weird. What would you do, Cap, if you went to see the Batman and it was just an adaptation of the Underdwellers, but with the Riddler as the villain?
I still want to see what Morbius looks like a couple months after that.
What if Morbius is also an adaptation?
I think there's a chance at that, actually. I think that could happen. Anyway, guys, give us 3 or 4 minutes. We'll be right back.
I'm back. What's up, everybody? If you guys can even see or hear me. Oh, I guess so, because I'm looking at the stream. But I guess there's also music playing. So I don't know what's going on. Thomas, you're bored with life? That sucks, dude. A good way to get back into life is to get a new hat. I don't know. Somebody in chat say if I'm even on, because I don't know if I'm just talking to myself or not. Oh wait, W. Okay, you're calling me out, but can you hear me? Nobody answered my question. And now Cap is back. Oh, I am on. Okay. While we're setting up, I am super furious because Disney is reviving Futurama.
Oh, yeah. That can't be good.
No, and they're recasting Bender because they couldn't come to an agreement to pay John DiMaggio to come back.
Really?
I could see it being a case where people freak out, so they go, just pay him. Because they're not going to watch it if he doesn't show up. But who knows?
Yeah. That doesn't sound smart, but I mean, I don't have anything to say. I'm not surprised by it. I mean, Disney's money milking everything they can money milk right now. Like, as soon as, I know you always make fun of this, as soon as they started doing like Star Wars, Simpsons specials, anything's on the table after that. Like,
it's sad. I don't like that.
Yeah, that's that Family Guy thing. Like, once that's in there, all bets are off, I think.
No, game over, man. Game over.
Tom says that they're a figment of your imagination and you're talking to no one.
I'm talking to Noon.
I don't even understand anything about that sentiment. We figment of your imagination. You're talking to Noon.
Noon is the Canadian god of time.
Oh, okay. But if
John Kelling asks, "What's my shirt?" It's Smormoo. Also,
I guess I understand what he's saying now. Okay.
And now it's bent because I sat on it.
At least you found it.
Stupid paper straws.
So he's basically saying that you need to ask the question that is the episode title. What is reality? Because you think you're talking to human beings, and he claims that they're not even there. That it's just all in your head. Am I also in your head? Or are we real, but we're having a shared hallucination that is the chat?
Well, and reality is a lot like this straw, and I bent it, but not with my mind, but because I sat on it.
But Austin, you need to remember the truth. There is no straw.
Well, there is right here. You can't tell me it's not here. I'm holding it.
Well, yeah, but you could be in the Matrix and holding a spoon, but the spoon's not there. That's the point, Austin!
Oh, I didn't watch that far. I turned it off after that part. When he said, she was like, bend the spoon, and I was like, what is this, a tutorial video? And I turned it off.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, it was stupid. You know what I hate?
I don't think we can be friends anymore.
And they give you a spoon and it's bent.
What's that?
So, you know what sucks is when you go to a restaurant and they give you a spoon and it's bent.
They're really easy to bend.
But it's like bent all the way around.
Yeah.
That's never happened.
I guess that happens. No, it has. It's just it's easy for that to happen with dishwashers and stuff, I guess.
dishwashers bend straws? Is that a thing?
No, spoons!
Or spoon? I'm jumping back and forth. Spoons, straws. It's the meaning of life.
I mean, like at a restaurant, like the person that is the dishwasher, not a dishwasher, but a dishwasher, get like
That's
pressure
confusing.
of water spraying it on things. The metal bends very easily.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably how that happens. I grew up in restaurants.
Yeah, but now we live in the 21st century. Now they just have a dishwasher instead of a dishwasher.
Oh,
so they just load it into the dishwasher instead of having a dishwasher clean it.
So let's watch What Is Reality, which I guess could have been the title of The Matrix if you wanted to go really on the nose. Let's just take.
Wait a minute.
The thematical. Let's just take the thematic notion of a thing.
I messed up. I thought I put it to second chance. Now I gotta find.
No, we're doing What Is Reality first. I told you that.
I know, but I messed up and put it on second chance. Now I gotta figure out which disc What Is Reality is on. If it's on that last disc, I'm gonna be really.
I can't believe we took a whole break and you're not ready yet.
Well, I ate a hot dog while I was on break.
The order is in the description.
Oh, I wasn't looking at that though. What is reality? Okay, I found it.
At least I will What is reality? That is the question. I think the real question is... Oh, I could say anything I want right now, and Austin wouldn't even know about it. Now we get to look at that image without anything in front of it. Yeah, Blue Dragon 5. Austin can't read. That's not a prerequisite to be on the show. Noah says, hashtag fire Austin. I think we should start without him. It's what I think.
Oh, did we hit play?
We're already into the... No, we're not. I'm kidding.
Somebody said my brain is bent. You're not wrong. My brain is both bent and smooth.
AMC Comics, we just got through Bane and Time Out of Joint. I don't know how. We've been broadcasting for an hour and 20 minutes, and we've only gotten through 40 minutes of television. RJ Godzilla, wait, have we not started? No. No, and I blame Austin, and I'm right about it. Sorry, what?
Said we haven't even started an episode. What is reality? There
you got 5 seconds, Austin.
I am good.
John Kelling, technically you could always say what you want, Cap. It's an open format. What do you mean? I'm not even sure what he's referring to. I think I've forgotten what's happened even in the last 2 minutes.
Yes.
It's that kind of day.
Comics. I did eat a hot dog. It was like a mixture of that Batman meme and the Spider-Man 2 scene where he's like eating the hot dog. Have you ever seen somebody edited that so that there's because what's the part? Remember in Spider-Man 2 where he's walking down the street and the cops go by and he's just eating his hot dog?
And then they have the still pic, and then it's the frame stops for no good reason.
Yeah, so somebody edited that.
Nothing's worrying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the kids running across the street, from that pizza segment, and they run out, the truck's coming, and then it cuts to Peter Parker, and he's eating this hot dog.
Okay,
that's pretty good.
We've got to get started if we're going to watch more than a couple more of these. Here we go, guys. What is reality? Is the episode in question. Get it timestamp 0. If you need a timestamp, hopefully, or leave a question in the comments and somebody will help you. I'm sure. Let's go ahead and get started. Here we go. Ready? Please press play right now. And we're going to find out why I apparently don't like this episode.
RJ Godzilla says I have to do less talking and more watching. I'm sorry.
I mean, we had red skies from the very beginning.
Yeah.
From the intro had red skies.
Have you ever played the animated series games, Cap?
Not much of them because they're damn hard.
Yeah, so everybody on the Discord that's played it makes fun of me because as a kid I couldn't get past the first or no, I think I could
Which one are we
get past
talking about? Because they're very different games.
For Vengeance. I'd never played Sun Tzu.
Oh, sorry. See, we're from different eras. I thought you were talking about Genesis and Super Nintendo.
Oh no, I was talking about the PS2 games.
So I had both of those on GameCube, and
oh yeah, like that era. Yeah.
Yeah, Vengeance is notoriously terrible.
Oh really? I always thought people liked that game.
Unless I'm thinking of a different game. There's one of those that's like
you're probably thinking of Dark Tomorrow.
No, Dark Tomorrow is okay. Vengeance. Now that I remember which one we're talking about, yeah, I never got I rented that one time and I didn't get very far. Sun Tzu is just a solid beat 'em up.
Just a beat 'em up, yeah. Vengeance, I think it's been so long, but just like picturing in my mind, the combat is kind of like a precursor to the Begins game combat, where you just kind of focus more on one person.
This episode opens weirdly like Maximum Overdrive.
I've still never seen that. I own it.
Now I'm just imagining that this jogger guy is Stephen King, and that this ATM is telling him to go F himself.
Oh God, is that his cameo in that movie?
Yeah, and it's at the start of that's how it opens.
Oh, that's pretty fun.
It's great.
I want to know what his cameo for Doctor Sleep was supposed to be, because he was going to be in it, and then he was like, I'm in it too. I don't need to do another film cameo.
Oh, interesting. I've still not seen that movie. I got to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It becomes just like shining nostalgia in the third act, but it's pretty good in the for the rest of it.
Oh no, it's Ghostbusters Afterlife?
Yeah.
Oh.
Except they have the decency to recast everybody instead of CGI them.
I like how close to 60s Batman-esque these riddles are. A sparrow with a machine gun. It's the only possible answer.
That's a line you want to hear Christian Bale say.
That's true. Except Batman didn't say that. Robin said that. But yes, that would be great.
Well, that would be when Christian Bale auditions for the role of Robin. So I didn't know this until Dan told me this the other day. Because in the Batman, like in the new movie, under the cast list, his name is Edward Nashton instead of Nigma.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that was like an original Riddler thing, and then they changed it to Nigma later. But Dan was telling me that the other day.
I didn't remember what it was, but I've read the earliest Riddler comics, and yeah, he's not Nigma right away.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of a cool pull.
Yeah, not a thing that more than 5 people will appreciate, but that is cool.
Because I just assumed they were like, Edward Nigma's a little too silly of a name. Let's just change it to something else. And I was just kind of like, whatever. But no, that's actually a really cool pull.
I like that we're kind of waiting for... I just want to talk about this for a minute, if that's okay with you. I like that we're kind of waiting for our big villain reveal here, where like he's in the background manipulating technology, and he's leaving these ominous riddles. And I mean, it's a good number of minutes before you even see him. Like, we're already 4 in, and like we've seen a picture of his face, but like Riddler's not in the episode yet. That's pretty cool.
No, and I think that's cool. For
and the right kind of villain to do that with. And we don't do a lot of villain.
What I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah. We don't do a lot of villain reveals like that in this show. Mm-hmm. It's not like arbitrarily they picked the Riddler to do that with because it's always fun to have, second or third act. Oh man, here comes the bad guy.
Here comes the sun.
And it's smart because it's a thinking villain who does his machinations again, behind the scenes, and he's not a brute like Bane. And so, you know, he's relatively diminutive and scrawny, and looks weirdly like Cletus Cassidy in the show.
He just doesn't say man enough. But they do get that from the show, because that's Joker in Joker's Favor, where he says to Harley, is like, or no, he says to the guy that he's like manipulating, when he tells him to open the door, he's like, "Look at the size of that cake, man."
Yes!
That's the entire basis.
I'm gonna take back what I just said slightly, though, because it's been a couple years since I've seen this. I forgot that when we finally see him, he's out of costume and just sitting in a chair. Like, it might have been nice when we finally see him
for him to be the Riddler.
Yeah, well, and if they do, you know, the kind of silhouette thing they like to do with him in the show.
Oh, that'd be
He's
really
like
cool. Yeah,
standing in a doorway, casting a shadow. Because he acts very differently in costume than out of costume, which I've always really liked about this version. Where he gets real theatrical in costume. Where, like, now he's got to be on. He's a character. Out of costume, he's just a disgruntled computer programmer. I also think motivation-wise and even personality-wise, there are parallels to be made between Riddler and Clock King in this show. And I've never really thought about that much and done any of that, but there's a paper to be written about the comparison, like a comparison contrast thing between those characters. RJ Godzilla, why did Nigma return? He got off scot-free. He just can't help himself, man. He's got to outsmart Batman. I think the real reason is because there's, like, Riddler fans that want to see him again. Like me.
Mm-hmm. It would be unfortunate if the Riddler only had one episode.
But Clock King got 2? And it was one of the most cartoony, like, weird, over-the-top shows they made?
Yeah, and Mad Hatter gets 2 that are
I like that kick.
Back.
I like that kick a lot. And then Batman almost gets crushed by a file cabinet. Wouldn't it be really unfortunate if Riddler only got 1 episode and then Batman died by file cabinet?
Imagine if the Penguin only got 1 episode and it was, I've got
Batman in my basement?
Yeah. Where I'm at this point, there still hasn't been a second Penguin episode. That's just been it. It's just
that's all you get.
Batman in my basement.
But see, it's weird because the way you're experiencing it in the order that you're watching it is not how anybody experienced it on television. So this show is... Nobody watched this in whatever the correct preferred order is, right? Like when it originally aired. We all must have had very different experiences unless you watched it in the actual aired order as it was coming out, which you couldn't have done because you weren't alive yet. And I didn't see every episode as it came out necessarily, because I was just getting home from school in the afternoons when new episodes were aired.
I didn't remember.
Or did they air on Saturday first and then reruns were in the afternoons during the week? I actually don't know that. AMC Netcap, is this episode too sci-fi for this setting for you or no? It's not as bad as... It doesn't seem as out there as the time travel thing as far as the internal logic of the show. My main issue with it is it just seems too dated. Like I said earlier. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you can have because I don't mind his Silicon Soul. Like, if you can have, like, AI and robots and stuff, I don't know that that, like, a helmet that you can put on that takes you into a virtual reality that if you just yanked it off of somebody, it would kill them. I don't know that all of that is too far. And it's hard to articulate what my standards are, but I know I'm not alone in feeling like the time travel thing was a bridge too far.
This definitely feels weird.
But it also, to some degree, feels like a natural extension of what we did in that first episode, like that first Riddler episode.
Well, no, his first episode is very video game.
Because I can argue that's too dated also.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think because it also ties back to like a Greek mythology thing with the like Minotaur in the maze.
Yeah.
That also helps it. While here it's just kind of they're in the Virtual Boy.
Yeah. Yeah, the red and black thing is weird. And before Virtual Boy, too. What's that about?
Oh, maybe that's what inspired the Virtual Boy.
And the R zone.
Real weird. Imagine if this is how Commissioner Gordon died.
But you also have, like, genetic manipulation in the show going all the way back, obviously, with Man-Bat. I mean, there's a lot of, like, straight-up science fiction in the show.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like somebody said earlier in the chat, stuff like that I think is fine because it's playing more into that, like, horror-y, like, monster, like, sci-fi as opposed to, like, this. Like, it's very different.
But even this feels more like it's in that vein than
the time travel.
The time travel thing, yeah.
No, the time travel thing, there's no question about. It's weird. It's riding that line. Like I said, I do think it is just more dated in that it was the 90s and we were always doing VR stuff.
Yeah.
Because we were still under that mindset that, like, this is what video games will be. So Alfred just showed up.
And then they weren't forever. And then they were.
Yeah. I didn't realize until, like, actually I think it was like a week ago, that Alfred in this show is Doc Ock in the 90s Spider-Man show, and it blew my mind.
Wait, the voice?
Yeah, the voice of Alfred in the show is Doc Ock in 90s Spider-Man.
I actually didn't realize that.
No, it blew my mind when I realized that, and now I can't unhear it.
Yeah, that's crazy. The original Alfred is hard to listen to when you go back to those first episodes.
He's only, like, in an episode or two, though, I think.
It's 3 or 4, maybe.
Yeah. He's not in it a lot, but yeah, he's not great.
Well, and you know, it's funny because this isn't even the first time we do a virtual reality in the show, because Perchance to Dream is also that in a different way.
Yeah, and then there's the question, is that too far? Because I think most of us kind of go, like, this is a good episode.
Yeah. I always like the red and black thing with this just because it's surreal and it makes Riddler feel more ominous. And there's something about... I think it's because changing the green to red inherently makes him like a devil-esque sort of figure. Like, he's ruling his own hell here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that.
I like this episode visually a lot, which is probably why I'm enjoying it more while we're talking over it than when I just watch it as an episode.
Come on, Batman. You should have a VR helmet with the ears. It's ridiculous.
AMC Comics says the other Alfred was the original Emperor in The Empire Strikes Back. I didn't know that either.
Oh, cool. I wish we didn't replace that person. Wait,
Elfham Zimblast. Yeah,
wait.
I just didn't...
I'm thinking about the visually. Because I was like, wait a minute, that was a woman. But that was just... It was probably the voice he's talking about.
The choice of colors on the helmet is weird, because you have a yellow, a red, and a green.
Bouncing, shooting, question marks.
Question marks? It's great!
Now they just look like S's, though.
Well, I do feel like the choices of situations and imagery and stuff that he's come up with for this virtual reality game that he's designed, that he trapped Batman in, fits in line decently well with the other game that we got in the first episode. Like, it's not Greek mythology stuff, but it seems like the kind of over-the-top, weird, sometimes hammy stuff that he would have come up with. I think it also helps that it's not just some insane gadget that somebody else built, like in the Clock King episode, or something that, you know, somehow he invented this, don't ask questions. Like, he's a game designer, so we went with his skill set in the first place. Maybe that is one of the things that helps it to not feel too over the top and going too far in the science fiction direction. I guess it's just easier for me to buy that, like, a lone programmer could do this. I love that visual reference there with to the old silent film about the moon. But yeah, it's maybe easier to buy that, like, a lone programmer can do this than just some, like, 80-year-old scientist comes up with a way to, like, unfaze people in his laboratory. I don't know.
No, in his room. Don't you remember when he was like, "What are you doing in my room?"
I never noticed that soft focus before. That looks nice.
Okay, but that's
Nightfall.
The 3 white pieces were moving
Nightfall
at the same time, and Robin's complaining that Batman needs to move like a chess piece. The other team's also not playing fair. Whoa.
And then Batman just turns into a 90s action figure, and I love that. It's really funny. Oh, and we're back to Greek mythology again, too. I forgot we did that.
Alfred, I'm riding a Pegasus.
It's a Pegasus! I don't really understand why just for this episode Batman redesigned his entire Batcave so that the computer is round. Is round. Because the keyboard and the monitor change size and shape to some degree constantly, but now he looks like he's on the bridge of the Enterprise and. Daniel Davis, it's a shame they never made an action figure of this. There was a figure from a line unrelated to the show, though, that looks shockingly similar to this, but he's a knight riding a horse, I think. Why didn't you do that before? If they put out, like, a 2-pack action figure set, Austin, of Batman and Riddler in this color scheme, I would buy that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, kind of like what they did with the NES figures, like Jason and
I have that. It's
purple.
Awesome. Specifically the NES Batman one. I guess there's some other ones they've done too.
Batman just reproduced asexually. That was really weird.
Now he's got to fight a bunch of Agent Smiths. It's weird because this is a power-up that Mario can get in 3D World.
Really? That's bizarre.
Yeah, where you're controlling several Marios at the same time.
Is
that
it
all
like
move
that
in
Mario
sync, in
game
unison?
that Jason showed us, where it's a bunch of Marios on a pizza and they're like rolling each other around?
No, that's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen ever.
I showed Doolittle that the other day. I was like, "Have you ever seen this Mario game?"
I wish that had actually been made.
It took me forever to find it. I kept YouTubing Mario's on pizza. I was getting nowhere.
No, this is a wonderful spectacle episode, and it's one of the most memorable shows visually, certainly. And I mean, again, right up there with that first Riddler episode. I think this is. I definitely like this more than the second Clocking episode, of course, by like quite a bit. Whatever my narrative issues were with it when we talked about this last time. But I think that it is a better sequel to that previous episode than the Clocking one was. Like, regardless of like the dated issue that I had and all of that, like, it's not lame. It's not throwing the villain under the bus.
Yeah, like I think this is a bit of a step, a bit of a step down from that first Riddler episode, but it's not like one of the worst like follow-up villain episodes in the show by like a large mile.
Yeah, and then he shares the same fate as the Riddler at the end of Batman Forever. So he'll be okay later. That one probably isn't.
He's really shaken.
They honestly, yeah. And he looks like he's aged by 40 years. The ending of that...
No way, he did not become a still image. He was shifting.
No, he was like this.
He was vibrating.
He was a still image that somebody was moving up and down a lot.
Yeah.
But I was just going to say...
He would just be like...
They end that episode as if they don't know if they're planning on... a crazy thought these days. That, like, you might make a Batman show and only have 2 Riddler episodes.
Well, the Riddler is this weird character where he's thought of as being one of the biggest Batman villains, but also it's really hard for people to tell you what good Riddler stories are. Like,
yeah.
He just is
until the last 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Where we've been working overtime to make him a more menacing character and a more three-dimensional character and not just a joke and a punching bag kind of character. But I think a lot of the reason that the Riddler is one of the like top 3 or 4 names that you'd come up with for Batman villains is Frank Gorshin, because I mean, he was one of the 4 villains in the 60s Batman movie. And because that was one of the main things people remembered from that show. It helped that was the villain in the pilot. But also, half the villains in that show were stand-ins for the Riddler. Like, if the Riddler wasn't there that week, somebody was still leaving clues that were riddles. Like, the idea of a riddle-themed villain is just a Batman thing. And it's almost like the Riddler himself is a personification of the main thing we do with Batman bad guys.
Yeah, because a lot of people think of that kind of trope of, villain lead. He has some sort of gimmick, and that gimmick is what he uses to, like, lead Batman to, like, different answers of, like, to his crimes and stuff, which is the Riddler, yeah.
Yeah. But it's not just the Riddler that does it. All these other villains do it too, but you don't remember them, you just remember the Riddler. And then also it's that juxtaposition, just like with the Joker, of Batman is this dark and broody character that wears, really dark colors. And then you have this very bright, chipper kind of, eccentric character.
Mm-hmm. That is very true. And people just love riddles.
I mean, I hate riddles, because I'm terrible at them. But I love the Riddler.
So next one is Second Chance?
Yes. And that's going to be a Volume 2 thing, I'm sure. Or a Season 2 thing. Okay, we'll see you later. Bye-bye. Oh, wait. We can go ahead and do Second Chance next, I suppose. I was going to go back and forth between stuff I picked and stuff he picked, but... Oh, it's not. Oh, wait, yes, it is. Okay, so Season 2, Episode 7 on HBO Max is where Second Chance is. And yeah, we'll go ahead and do this one. So yeah, Austin, originally I was going to do like one of mine and one of yours, but you already went and grabbed that, so we might as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure mine are on the same disc anyways, so.
Cool.
I picked mine like 2 episodes apart or something like that. Because I was like, what are 2 of my favorite Batman villains? Killer Croc and Scarecrow. Okay, Killer Croc episode, Scarecrow episode. We're done.
It's interesting that I think a couple people were asking for this one, that this one came up because I watched this one not too long ago, just randomly in the mood for this show, and I hadn't seen this episode in a long time, and I put it on maybe, I don't know, 2-3 months ago.
I don't think I've ever seen this.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Second Chance?
This would probably be the best Two-Face episode if only his initial two-parter wasn't one of the best episodes of the show. Like, it's kind of hard to beat that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was in... Maybe that wasn't on my top 10 list because... when I did the rewind, because I wasn't using two-parters, because I had some stupid
I thought it was
set for that. I don't know why I did that. Or did I do... I can't remember. It's been a decade. I don't know. I don't know what I was doing. I've made 4,000 videos since then. I don't know.
The thing you love the most about Two-Face in the show is that his evil voice is the Christian Bale Batman voice.
I think when they get to Two-Face in the Batman continuity, they should bring back Big Bad Harv.
Yeah, no, I was on vacation when I was in high school, and my younger siblings used to always get me to do, like, different voices like that, like Batman or whatever, and there was one point where we had, like, these action figures that they had, and they're getting me to, like, voice out, like, a little story between all of them. And there's a part where it was like Batman and then Two-Face, and I was like, what's like a famous Two-Face voice? I'll go with the animated series. And then I started doing it, and I was like, wait a minute, that's also just the Christian Bale Batman voice. So it's just like, you know, and he was fighting Christian Bale Batman voice, so it was just those two voices going at each other. It was very awkward. Nobody cares.
See,
so,
the idea of doing Christian Bale playing Two-Face, the first place my mind goes is Harvey Dent. Can I be trusted? Can I trust me? I'm Harvey Dent.
I'm Harv.
Hi.
You're talking to the wrong Harvey Korn.
Yeah, that sounds really good. That's pretty close.
That's when he's talking to Rupert Korn.
I know for sure that that's a black man. Their Harvey Dent is a black man.
Oh, the actor?
No, the character.
Is he supposed to be black in this show?
He's definitely black in this show. Yeah, and I assume that's because of Billy D. Williams, but...
Maybe. I've never picked up on that.
Well, once he's Two-Face, it's... like harder to tell.
He's blue.
Yeah, well, that's like half of him is blue. Yeah, but go back to the original Two-Face two-parter. He's definitely a black guy.
I rewatched it like a few weeks ago, but I've never picked up on that. Everybody in chat, put a.
This is not the Lex Luthor question, where for a long time people wondered if the DCAU Lex Luthor was supposed to be a black man, and he's not, but their skin tone is always weirdly dark, and it's just hard to tell. And like with that voice, he totally could have been, but it's not supposed to be. He's not black!
I didn't think he was.
I think he is! John Kelling, he's not black in this show. Go back to that two-parter. It really seems like he's gotta be a black guy.
He's just tanned.
Robert Weil says he's ethnically ambiguous in the show. I think he's... Well, if it's ambiguous, then can I have an opinion about this? Does that mean
he's the ethnically ambiguous duo?
Because he's a duo. Okay. Well, now I'm going to be self-conscious about this. Nobody agrees with me. Everybody says he's not black, except for the one guy that said it's ambiguous. Whatever. He just has a tan. Okay.
Cap walks into a movie. He's watching BVS. He's like, oh, I think Lex might be black in this movie.
The impressive thing is that several people in the chat weighed in on this, and not one person got their comment blocked for saying the word black, which happens all the time. Anyway.
That is true. Apparently you can say dark-skinned Italian, but you can't say black.
John Kelling, the only thing black in this show is the paper they printed the backgrounds on.
Oh, damn. And that other guy that we saw.
That guy was apparently
did not
black.
realize was black.
Not immediately.
He's just old.
But see, I was absolutely positive that AMC, that it wasn't the Lex thing. That he just very... Go back and watch that two-parter. I don't see... Whatever. It's fine. And now I'm like, I wonder... Because I've never seen a picture of that actor. Like, I wonder if it's a black man voicing a white guy who's drawn so ambiguously that I thought he was black.
Well, it's like Harvey Dent himself said, you either die not black or live long enough to see yourself become black. Because the old guy was black. Oh yeah,
Okay.
Lucius Fox is in this too.
It's not important, and we've gone on far too long about it. Let's go ahead and start watching Second Chance. Here we go. Everybody, that's all we're going to talk about for the next 20 minutes. Everybody make sure that you're at timestamp 0. Get ready to press play when I say now. I don't even want to do this anymore. Okay, everybody please press play right now.
This reminds me of, I went to
Just
visit my
always
dad the one
wrong
day.
about everything.
And he's like, oh, hey, like, my wife recently showed me that Sherlock show. And I was like, oh, yeah? And he's like, yeah, Sherlock, it was pretty good. But I never realized that Sherlock was his name. I always thought that was his occupation, like he was the town Sherlock. You know, it's like,
You told me this.
Holmes, he's Sherlock Holmes. So, very similar vibes right now.
A part of me does wish that they had come up with another sequence for this instead of using clips from the show.
Well, yeah, because what's so cool about the original animated intro was that it's basically a short film.
Yeah. And you could have come up with something like that with Batman and Robin.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been kind of neat if they'd done that.
No, absolutely.
I like this title card a lot because it's so film noirish.
Oh, Jerry Conway wrote this?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So at this point, were they using Robin a lot more often then, and that's why they changed the intro? Or, I mean, I guess I know they rebranded it, but like
Yeah.
that show originally is very hit or miss on whether Robin will show up.
It is, and I think this batch, he is in every episode or in most of them. And it starts with the Batgirl two-parter, I think, and he's in that. And I think from
I
then
remember
on
that
they're
one,
using
yeah.
him.
That
Maybe
one's
there
not
are
as
some
good as
episodes
Mystery
in
of the
this
Batwoman.
20 that he's not in, but that's a neat reveal.
No, that's pretty cool. This episode visually looks really cool so far.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the more atmospheric episodes of the show.
Well, and that makes sense because that two-parter is as well. This is pretty cool because they're showing all this again, but a lot of it's new animation. Like they are reusing some animation, but they also like did a bunch of new animation for that sequence.
Yeah, well, and this isn't a straight-up flashback. Or is it? Like, I can't remember. Are we in a dream sequence? Or no, it is it is just a flashback.
Yeah.
There was something just really surreal about that camera turn and stuff that made me think that it was going to be exaggerated in some way. That's the thing we do a lot in the show, where it'll it'll start off looking like a regular scene, and then all of a sudden something will be like, giant and monster-like, and you're like, oh, we're in a dream sequence now. No, I didn't realize they flashbacked. Yeah, we don't do that very often in the show at all. It's not 90s Spider-Man.
And yeah, no, I also like the Harvey. No. Which is in that original two-parter.
Yep. Doing a really good job making him kind of sympathetic and reminding the audience that he was a real person.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Daniel Davis, I think, just mentioned this too. They do a bunch of villain reform episodes.
And all in a row, too. It seemed like that was the mission statement of this batch of episodes.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yep, we do one with Poison Ivy, we do one with Two-Face, and the problem with it, of course,
is that... a Poison Ivy one. I didn't...
Crazy. The problem with them, of course, is that it starts to look like we're plugging in for a formula, because we're always going to have to go back to status quo. We're never going to let any of them be actually for real reformed.
Yeah, because they do, Penguin, Riddler, Harley...
And Riddler has reforming the title.
Mm-hmm. If only they all had alliteration.
Daniel Davis says the episodes themselves go down by a minute by this point, which I hadn't noticed until we started this one. And I was looking at the timestamp, and I was like, oh yeah, 21 something.
What a bunch of frauds. You can't even fill a whole minute.
It's like when we had to take 2 pages out of...
Oh yeah, they do
DC
Catwoman
Comics
as well, AMC
Oh
Comics.
Yeah, that's right.
So many... That's a lot.
Yeah. It's at least 5 or 6 out of 20.
John Kelling says they do it with Ventriloquist, too.
Oh, yep, that's true.
I didn't remember that one either. That's nuts. That's too many. Hot take, guys. That's too many Reform episodes.
They should have spread them out a little bit more.
Well, I have a personal thing where it's like every show only gets 2 Reform episodes, no matter what show it is. So like if you go beyond that, it's too much.
This is such a really weird order of episodes we're doing tonight, because this is so starkly a different vibe and tone from anything else we've watched tonight.
Yeah, we've only had the classic intro once tonight, too.
That's true. Yeah, we've been watching mostly stuff from that second season. Just something about the pacing of this episode, especially, makes it feel a lot more like I don't know, like a 40s movie.
Wait, Blue Dragon 5 says if you count Joker being reformed with money temporarily, that might also count. I don't remember what episode that is, but I guess possibly.
Yeah, I have a hard time counting that.
Does Perchance to Dream count as a Batman reform episode?
No. He's not a villain. It's not really reforming.
Yeah, but he's like, different.
That's a whole other, like a, I don't know, episode trope or episode concept trope of the person that thinks that maybe they're insane and they were hallucinating their whole crazy life. Mm-hmm. Every genre show has that episode at least once, but usually it takes place in an insane asylum.
Well, and for me, I just call that Thursdays.
I feel like we just drove up to the set of Batman 89 in this sequence.
I like how many episodes of the show just have Batman just drop off Robin and be like, okay, you're not coming with me.
Get an Uber home, kid. Batman rocks. If Batman created that false reality for himself, it would be a Batman Reform episode.
Robin, when he was walking away there, should have muttered
Well,
to
that
himself,
lightning was cool.
It's always Batman and Robin. It's never Robin and Batman. He walks away.
What do you think, Batboy, Nightwing?
My youngest brother, when he was like 4, I showed him some of the 60s show.
I want to think Robin either got that from Catwoman or stole it from her. Anyway, I'm sorry.
It looked like he just had that from school. It's just a protractor.
It's a protractor.
It's a protractor. Yeah, I showed my youngest brother some 66 at one point, when he was like 4 years old.
Hey, look, we're back to Rupert Thorne.
Oh, Rupert Corn's back, yeah.
Is that woman dead, or has that not happened yet? I'm not sure.
Well, what do you think was keeping that fire going?
Oh.
So there's like a point we're watching it, and he just looks up at the screen and goes, "Robin is the leader." You're the only kid that's ever watched this and assumed Robin was the leader.
It's even weirder than assuming Raphael is the leader.
Well, because he is.
According to one rapper one time.
Yeah, that's what I go off of.
Oh, okay.
Why would he lie to me?
He wasn't lying, he was just ignorant.
Oh.
Just made a bizarre assumption. Nobody ever checks under the gauntlets for things.
No, if I were to kidnap somebody, I would take their gloves off before I tied them up.
It seems like that would be...
Oh my god, that guy was
standard
so
operating procedure.
That's really weird. He's like Ivan Drago.
It's really impressive how subtly dark this episode is.
Mm-hmm. No, it is pretty cool.
Like, it's getting away with a lot because, of course, it's not showing anything. It's all in just what the episode's about. But
and in an episode where we've
But if you're like Robin 7 or 8 and you're watching this watch is real bleak.
Mm-hmm. No, and it's darker in an episode that's been with Robin more than Batman.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
Oh my god, it's Penguin from the Sam Hamm script.
It feels more messed up and more dangerous maybe even to put Robin in that kind of situation, like, for the kids in the audience.
Why is their Penguin so weird? We just cut to the Penguin orchestrating a bunch of birds dancing.
They
Wow,
they really don't totally know what to do with this character, and I feel like if this show had happened even 5 years earlier, maybe it wouldn't be as strange. But there's that influence with the Tim Burton movies that they can't quite get away from. So he is simultaneously the mock sophisticate and like just really weird and creepy and kind of grotesque, like all at the same time.
Well, it always just seemed to me like they didn't have a real good take of Penguin, and he's not the only villain in this show that they don't really have good takes on.
That's absolutely right.
And oddly enough, both Returns villains, because their Catwoman's not great either.
I mean, agree to disagree on that. I've always liked their Catwoman fine.
Fair enough. I think it's more so their Catwoman has really weird episodes.
No, but the characterization is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could say they don't have a like new, unique take on that character, but she feels like quintessential Catwoman to me.
Oh, that's fair. I guess with that, I am more so thinking
Penguin.
about
I'm just like,
just weird plots.
I don't even get this character
Yeah.
entirely.
No, that is very true.
His
I guess,
reformed
yeah,
episode is
Catwoman,
actually
I'm
one of his better
thinking of
episodes.
plots.
And now they're Cyclops.
That's so rad, dude. Look at that X1, man.
See, futuristic means red and black.
That is true.
We're so obsessed with virtual reality, and for some reason it has to be red and black, that we want to put on headsets that makes the regular world look like what it would look like in virtual reality.
It is funny just thinking about the Penguin thing.
I wish he
with
had
the
a
show.
flashlight in his mouth in that scene. I'd pay real money to see Batman wearing the Cyclops visor with a flashlight in his mouth investigating something.
And then he talks to Robin, but it's like muffled because he has.
This shot is
Flashlight.
awesome.
No, that's great. But I was just thinking with the Penguin thing, it is interesting that this show doesn't have an interesting take on him. And then we get the Batman after this, and he's like the main villain they go to. Where he's in like 80% of the episodes.
I don't know why he's so they're so obsessed with that guy. It's like Gorilla Grodd in Brave and the Bold. Like, we just can't stop using him all the time.
I mean, if I were working in DC, if I were working in DC, I would want to use a talking ape. So I can't really complain.
Blue Dragon 5, if he has the visor, why would he need the flashlight cap? Well, because it's an absurd image that I just want to see. I guess he wouldn't need that, but it would look funny.
I hope he has that visor in the Batman, like the movie, not that cartoon. That's gonna get.
Oh
so
yeah, I forgot he
confusing.
kidnaps himself. He's his own villain in this episode. It's great. I forgot how great this episode was until I watched it a couple months ago, and then I've slept since then at least once, and so once again I was surprised by this reveal. But
I couldn't get reformed. I had to kidnap Harvey first.
now that I'm looking at this again with that ethnicity thing we were talking about earlier, no, I'm going to say this. It actually is more like the Lex Luthor thing that I was letting on, because if you go look at the like his facial structure, they're really similar. Like, the character
They're
models are
similar designs.
not that far off. See, this is the point where he just needs to ask somebody if they have a quarter.
Is there like a reason for why it was falling on the edge?
Yeah, they'll reveal that,
Oh, okay.
if memory serves, here in a minute.
I'm like, I don't know about that one.
There's a it has something to do with like this area being like magnetizing or something. I can't remember.
Batman rocks his pretty impressive performances, Austin. Okay. I don't. Do you just mean when I was doing the voice? I don't. But thank you.
Yeah, you do a really good big bad Harv.
It makes me lightheaded though, so I may faint on stream.
It's worth it for your art. I don't know about that Batman smile. I don't know why we lingered on that.
That was very strange.
That was a little odd.
Batman smiling in general is just weird.
But like the attention to detail on everything in this construction site is insane. Like, this looks like an episode that they spent 6 months or a year on all by itself. It's crazy.
Yeah, almost like a Treehouse of Horror thing where Treehouse of Horror episodes now are they're all holdover episodes so that they get an extra year to work on them.
Yeah, I wonder what the story was with this, because I don't see how with normal production time they could have put this together.
Batman Rocks clarified, yes, the voice. Well, thank you, sir.
Although we might be cutting corners a little bit in certain shots so that we've got the time to work on, the details in other images. And of course, this is common knowledge now. We were talking about this earlier, but with the fact that this whole show was drawn on black, and there's a lot more black in this episode than anything else we've watched tonight, certainly, but a lot of other episodes too. Like, there's whole shots where half the screen is like Batman's cape and there's no contours or anything, because it's just that black background. They've not done anything to it.
Robin throwing a batarang, bouncing it off a wall to hit an elevator button was amazing. I just had to point that out.
Yeah, it's almost like he had one of those remote control batarangs from the
He turned into Bullseye.
RJ Godzilla, Harvey, just put the coin in your pocket. Yeah, I didn't understand why he kept doing that. The definition of insanity. I might actually, looking at this again, go on a limb and say that this is equal to that initial Two-Face two-parter, and certainly action-wise for atmosphere and storyboarding and stuff, it's even better than that episode.
No, it was very cool.
That thing is gorgeous.
I'd never seen that before. That was quite the treat.
Yeah, that episode's not talked about enough.
Ah, rats. The two episodes I picked are not on the same disc.
Oh, they're not? Okay. Which one? Which one do you want to do first?
I'm cool with whichever.
Well, you pick, because you picked them.
Okay, well, let's do Dreams in Darkness so we can end on my boy Crack.
Okay, cool. Well, let's go ahead and get that set up, and then we'll take one more quick break, guys. So, it's going to be Dreams of Darkness. I don't right off remember which one this is.
This is the one, it's got the same Scarecrow plot as Begins.
Oh. Is that like the second Scarecrow?
It's the third. The second one is that sports episode.
Oh,
where
yeah.
He's like poisoning all the athletes.
Which is weirdly creepy.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one quite a bit.
Yeah, I like their Scarecrow quite a bit, even if I don't think they nail a good design until
oh, yeah, I love
style.
this episode. This is the one where he gets thrown in Arkham.
Mm-hmm. This is the one where it's got that line that I think you complain about, where he's like, "Oh, don't take his mask off. It's part of his psychosis."
It's like, that would never, ever happen.
No, I love that in cartoons, where you just cut to villains in prison in their costume.
Yeah, it's just Blue Dragonfly. It's just been too long. I've got episode titles with some of the show and some others I don't remember as well. But I think this was in my top 10 years ago.
We didn't do this one, but in 60 Spider-Man, in the second Electro episode, Spider-Man goes to the prison to check out Electro, I think, and it just cuts to Electro in prison, and he's in his full costume, and he's just building a kite in his cell.
That's amazing.
And then he puts the kite out his cell window, and it gets struck by lightning, and he becomes powered up again. It's awesome.
No, I'm glad you picked this one because Blue Dragon 5 was just talking about how that's the kind of the basis of begins in the Arkham games. Yeah, I agree with that. And this
Definitely.
is a cool one. I mean, it's cool to go back and look at this after the Arkham games because it's crazy how much of that was kind of just intact here already.
No, absolutely. And I think this is the first episode where we go to Arkham, but I could be wrong because when I was rewatching through all of it, I wasn't really, keeping track of stuff like that.
Yeah.
At the very least, it's the first one where we're like at Arkham for any amount of time.
Let's go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Hello again, everybody. We're just waiting for Austin, and then we will watch our last 2 episodes for the evening. Thanks for hanging out with us into the wee hours of the morning for a little more Batman the Animated Series. I'm excited about looking at this one again. It has been a while. And I remember this being an episode with some of my favorite animation in the show. And
there's some cool sequences, absolutely. This also has the second appearance of Penguin in this show.
Oh.
And he's like a weird hallucination and his head explodes.
I forgot about it. Well, and this is going to be one of, if not the first episodes to feature like a lot of the rogues all at once, right?
No. Well, I mean, yes, but it's all hallucination stuff.
Right, but just where you actually...
Be right back.
Oh, okay. He's right, but I'm just saying I don't know that there are any episodes before this where you even see all those character models in the same episode. Unless this is... and I mean in production order, not aired order. It's the order with the show is sticky. But I think this is even... Is this before... Austin, is this before Almost Got Him or not? I would have to go back and look.
This is before Almost Got Him, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I was just saying, like, it would have been a novelty if you were watching this somehow in the order that they made it, to see even just all those character models in the same episode.
No, it's kind of interesting. Scarecrow gets 3 episodes before a lot of villains get their second. And before some villains like the Riddler even get their first.
And prior to this, Scarecrow, unless you were, reading contemporary comics, wouldn't have been on a lot of people's radar. Like, this show introduced a lot of people to that character.
No, and it makes me happy because he's one of my favorite Batman villains.
Yeah.
I hope someday I can get a movie Scarecrow that's more like this and like more like the comic book version. I do like him in Begins, but it's also like it's a reinvention. Certainly.
But everything with those movies is certainly a reinvention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With the exception of maybe Gordon. I guess that's like the one character that's completely...
Yeah, probably.
More or less off the page, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I would like to see one where he's more menacing and can't be, like, tased in the face by the love interest and then he's out of the movie.
And he just goes, ah! He rides off on his horse.
Yeah, like, as a kid, because I had the toy of the outfit that he's wearing when he's on the horse, and I was like, man, like, that's so awesome. And, like, in the game, he gets, like, his whole section where, like, you take him out after the city's been taken over. And then in the movie, he just rocks up and he's breathing fire and he's like, do you fear? And then he just gets tased in the face and he's like, ow!
Did you see what's really going on? And it's not nearly as cool.
Yeah. And then I shed a tear.
and then he's, I guess, appropriately, just if you're being consistent from that scene, a joke after that. But you see the way he got taken out in that first movie, it kind of makes sense.
Well, I always thought, I always liked the way they use him in Dark Knight, where he's basically a drug dealer.
Yeah.
I always thought that was pretty cool. I've never really cared about him being the judge in Rises. I don't know.
That just struck me as, who do we have that has been in these movies?
Yeah. Nolan just really likes working with Cillian Murphy.
He needs a cameo somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Well, let's go ahead and watch this one. It is, according to HBO Max, Season 1, Episode 31. It's Dreams in Darkness. Make sure that you get it past, or to timestamp 0, and get ready to press play when I say no. Here we go, folks. Everybody good? Everybody ready? I hope you're ready. Here we go. Ready? Please press play right now.
So when I got it up a second ago, it was definitely not because I put in the disc for Vendetta and not Dreams of Darkness, so nobody think that.
We could have watched that one first.
Nobody think that. That's not what happened.
Daniel Davis, I love how they use Scarecrow during the entire series. I guess he's talking about with
Nolan, I'm guessing.
Nolan, yeah.
I want to see like God of Fear Scarecrow in a movie. It'd just being awesome.
When I was a kid, I thought the coolest idea was the New Adventures thing, where he comes back and he goes, "This time I'm going to make it so that nobody has fear." I'm not sure if that episode holds up as well as I remember when I was a kid, but that concept was brilliant to me.
I want to see. They should have done a whole line of episodes like that, like the Reform episodes. Like there should be one with Riddler where he's going around slapping kids who have riddle books.
I forgot this was a Reeve Stevens script. That couple writes a lot of Star Trek novels.
Oh, interesting. That's pretty cool.
I have a bunch of their stuff on my shelf. I don't know that I've read a bunch of their stuff, but I own a bunch of their stuff. It's really funny that I was talking earlier about those episodes of so many genre shows where we put the main character in an insane asylum and we say, like, you know, you hallucinated your whole existence, and your life is not as interesting as it seems like on television, because nobody's life is a TV show. And then this episode borders on that.
No, there's a Ash vs. the Evil Dead episode kind of like this, where he wakes up in an insane asylum, and it's like everything that you thought you knew was like just your madness, and it's pretty fun. He's got like a little puppet, Ash, which is great. That show's awesome.
Because, I mean, in this case, it isn't none of these villains were real. They're all in his head, but they do think that he is hallucinating and he's kind of lost his mind.
Yeah, because he's suffering from the fear toxin.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as long as it's not the Eternal Youth Spa.
Oh,
we don't want to go there. That place is horrifying.
That episode is awesome just because somebody took that episode and they took that He-Man What's Going On video and they just made it out of like Alfred in that episode, and it's awesome. And I saw that video way before I saw the He-Man one, so I have more love for that than I do the He-Man version.
It's always weird when he's got a batarang sticking out.
I was just thinking
belt.
that, yeah, where it's like
it's kind of awkward.
Tucked it in there. Well, that's kind of one of those things where it's not like we draw his or like his utility belt to actually have storage for that stuff.
Can we talk about how insanely absurd this guy is? I did not remember this. He's like a living Swiss Army knife.
No, this guy's awesome. That's the reason I picked this episode. He's my favorite Batman villain.
I mean, everybody likes to immediately go to, Condiment King. No, this guy. That is the goofiest Batman villain right there. I don't even know what that guy is. What is that guy? Doesn't even have a name. He's just Swiss Army knife man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how impractical is it to have even one hand that's just like a multi-tool, but not fingers?
No, I wish I had a drill for a hand. That'd be awesome. But like everything goes to Condiment King, where it's like, oh, like funny Batman villains, and they completely miss the point that he's a joke in the first place.
In the first place, yeah.
Like I remember,
and there are a bunch of other ones that you can go back to that were always silly, but they were played as straight as anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Your crazy quilts and your
yeah. Somebody asked James Gunn on Twitter at one point if he would use Condiment King for the Suicide Squad, and he was like, "No, that character is a joke. I think it's funny to take characters that somebody made thinking this is a cool villain. Not you know what I mean? Like, exactly like what you're saying.
Well, and that's one of those things where I feel like, and I don't mean to sound like a prude when I say this, but I feel like, you know, people will bring that kind of thing up to show their like street cred for geekdom. Where it's like, oh, I know about, you know, this deep pull thing, Condiment King. Isn't that ridiculous? And it's like, yeah, you don't really know a lot if you're going to that as the most ridiculous Batman villain.
Mm-hmm. No, it's one of those things where people throw it out like, oh, isn't this cool that I know? But it's like when somebody goes, Indiana Jones, like you could take him out of the plot in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it doesn't change anything. It's like, yeah, people have been making fun of that for like 20 years. You're not clever for
You just got there, yeah.
Yeah. Especially
so you gotta love that. You gotta love that in an episode this kind of disturbing that we can have Swiss Army knife guy, that you have something that absurd at the beginning of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great super late at night kind of episode.
Because you're so tired, you're basically hallucinating and you're in Batman's head.
Exactly.
It's
I can
like,
sympathize more with my protagonist that way.
Yeah, it's like Eric's old review of Batman R.I.P. on his channel, where he reviewed it the first time and was like, yeah, I don't really like this. And then he reviewed it the second time and he was like, yeah, I just got the flu. I was like really sick. And then I read this and I finally got it.
This is just the road to the Batcave from '89, and it's so cool that they put that in there.
Mm-hmm. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, this is such a wonderfully
because the Batmobile is so long, it fills up the entire street when it turns around.
Yeah, and it has to do that rubbery thing a lot to make turns, and so it looks super cartoony. So it's like we only picked episodes tonight where bad things happen to the Batmobile. We've seen so many Batmobile crashes, we could be counting them like it's Crypto Freaks.
Yeah, if this was somebody's first experience with the show, they would think that every episode the Batmobile gets trashed.
They would think the Batmobile is a red shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I like all the POV stuff in this episode. Where we get in Batman's head and we see just how like surreal and bizarre things are feeling. The unreality of it all.
Mm-hmm. Batman in a straitjacket is also a really cool image.
It's a great image. Yep. Well, because it inherently invokes that that question of whether Batman might be on the verge of deserving to be here anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of my. I think one of the reasons that I probably put this episode on my top 10 list is I think that it's a quintessential episode for what this show is about at its core in general. Like if I was going to show anybody an episode to give them a sense of what the point of this show is versus other Batman things, this would be pretty high on that list. Because I made this point in the Captain Logan show a couple weeks ago. This show, I always felt like, and that's why this is so much my Batman, because late 80s, early 90s Batman comics also seem to kind of be about this. Not suggesting that Batman is a crazy person per se, but asking the question, keeping it ambiguous, making it clear that a person who is like as driven as Batman and motivated by the things Batman is motivated by would have to be on that knife's edge all the time. So it isn't like, oh, he must be psychotic if he puts on a bat costume and goes out and fights criminals. I've never liked that take on Batman. As an alternate take, it can be interesting, but that's not the definitive Batman. For me, the definitive Batman is he is conflicted about that. Like, I know that he's sane and he cares about people, and the real reason he's doing what he's doing is because he wants the world to be a better place. But he's not sure about that. And he's scared that he could become the very villains that he's fighting, and at the moment that he picked up a gun and decided to fire it, that would be the point of no return, and he would turn into the Joker or his parents' killer or something. And I always thought that was the like uncertainty of Batman, the part where he doesn't believe in himself.
So in the last scene where Batman was talking to the doctor, because you mentioned the '89 thing with the road.
Yeah.
They mentioned that the Joker.
The trees looked less fake there because they're animated.
They mentioned that the Joker's name is Jack Napier.
Yeah.
I think that's weird because, like, for me, that's just not how I want my Joker.
Yeah.
But that is, you can't really deny the effect that those movies had on the show.
Yep. Well, the show doesn't happen without them. And
exactly.
There's this kind of vague thing where they can't decide just how associated they want to be with that material, but when you go all the way to we'll use the melody of the theme from them, you're kind of directly tied to that material. So this isn't even pretending like it's in the same continuity, but it's spiritually very connected. And this is one of the classic images from this show. I mean, I was just talking about the gun thing.
Mm-hmm. It was like oozing blood.
Yeah. And crazy they got away with that.
That's crazy they got away with it.
Yep.
Somebody wasn't looking when that happened.
Yep. But yeah, just to finish that thought real fast, I always thought that was like the really interesting insecurity with Batman, because like this is, or at least my version of Batman, my definitive Batman, is a character that that like, even though he uses intimidation tactics, and it feels like he has to scare his criminals, and does have a vengeance element to some degree and all of that. It's a character that I believe in. It's a character that to some degree I would like to be more like. It's like I trust Batman more than Batman trusts himself. Like, I think if Batman picked up a gun and was in a situation where he thought he had to use it for self-defense or to save another person or something, he wouldn't go down that path. I don't think magically you give Batman a gun and all of a sudden he's a bad guy. And that's what was always interesting about this show to me, is it got that whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Nova says this episode had to have traumatized kids. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When we get to the part where all the...
And I have so much respect for that.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Because, like, it's not trying to give kids nightmares. It's, like, violence with consequences.
Yeah.
Kids
there's
need
like a
that.
horror element to Batman that this show definitely likes to live in. And especially with Scarecrow, like, it's perfect.
Leonard Vole, you could which is a name I don't recognize. Welcome. You could totally tell they didn't want to make Penguin the way they did. That was mandated by WB to make him more Danny DeVito-like. That's not a thing I've ever heard for sure, which is why I hesitated suggesting it earlier. But it always read that way to me.
That would make the most sense.
Daniel Davis, they eventually dropped the Jack Napier thing altogether and imply it was an alias, which is kind of a direct retcon to Phantasm. Because when you go back and look at that, he's just some, like, lowly mobster guy. There's no way that he had some kind of, like, long con thing where he had a bunch of aliases and things. I don't buy that with that character. Like, Jack Napier was a nobody, and then he became the Joker, and then he was somebody.
That is one of those things in Phantasm where I just have to give it to the movie.
Yep.
Where it's like, yeah, I don't really like that.
I don't love it either. It felt like a forced thing to get him in the movie somehow, because otherwise it'd be weird if he was there and not personally connected to Valeska and all that somehow.
And I like how what they do with the Joker in that movie. So it's just kind of a thing where
You can live with it.
Exactly.
No, I do too, and I don't feel like the Joker is shoved in any other way. It's just like they have to excuse it.
Yeah, I'm glad they at least don't give him a name. Like, he just is a thug guy.
We're doing a clear visual parallel here with the Batcave. This is Batman's element. Like, he is under Arkham Asylum, and it looks like where he lives. He's too at home here, maybe.
Oh no, he broke his trademark flashlight.
Batman rocks. I believe Batman reaching his breaking point and killing particularly the Joker, but if that happened and he gave into that, he'd quit. Just having a gun and pointing it was enough in this continuity. Well, that's true. I mean, we did that with Batman Beyond.
It's also interesting this clearly isn't Mark Hamill as the Joker in this episode.
I always love how careful Walker is to make sure that anytime these villains come in, we work their themes into the soundtrack somehow. And here we've got to do it like 3-4 times in a row. Oh, Daniel Davis just said the same thing I said, except in a lot fewer words. Good job. AMC, no Cap, the Phantasm thing is explained away in the same episode. They imply Napier is a mobster alias. It's Beware the Creeper. It's been too long since I've seen that. But I'm just saying that reads really retconny to me.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen that episode.
When I was a kid, I never found the Scarecrow design in the show to be especially creepy or anything.
Their Scarecrow design's not good. This one's better than the last one.
Like, I like him.
First episode.
Like characteristically, I like him, but I just always felt like the design was kind of a misstep. It just wasn't very intimidating.
No, their best Scarecrow design is oddly enough in the last season.
Yeah,
all of their designs are
one of the only designs I like in that show. Yeah, the noose thing, it's great. But
no,
I want to.
The first time they actually make him look creepy.
Yeah, I want to go back and replace this Scarecrow with the Arkham Scarecrow.
Oh, for sure. It was weird, like Freddy Krueger. Club.
He's wonderful. For me at this point, that's kind of the definitive Scarecrow look.
Definitive Scarecrow, yeah. I would like it if Matt Reeves used that character, but I don't know if he will.
I'm sorry, say that again. I was reading
comments.
comments.
I was just saying, I think it would be really cool if Matt Reeves used that character, but I don't know if that's one that he'll jump at.
It seems like a natural fit for what that movie looks like. For, you know, something you would do very shortly afterwards.
Yeah, I just don't know like how much he's going to be jumping to do villains that Nolan used. I don't know if that's like a thing that he has, because I know some creators have that where they're like, I want to do something different.
I mean, who knows? I imagine he wouldn't be too concerned about it because his takes are so different, and because the Nolan movies it's been a while. I mean, we're a decade out. I mean,
that is true.
This will be, isn't that crazy? This will be the first. This is gonna date this commentary. This will be the first solo Batman movie we've had in 10 years. Like, we're at the 10th anniversary of Rises, and The Batman is coming out, which was never anybody's plan, but that's how it worked out. He's got Selena Kyle in that movie. He's not worried about that.
That is true.
Not that she was a straight-up villain in any of those things, but, I mean, in that or this.
It's a little different because you expect her to show up in every interpretation. But I see where you're coming from.
You kind of expect the Joker to show up in every interpretation too, and who knows how long it would take him to even think to even want to use that character, because you'd have to reinvent it so hard.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
There's just, these days, there's so much pressure when you use that character in anything.
Yeah, no, I'm just interested to see, what villains he'll end up using moving forward. I'd like to see him take another crack at Mr. Freeze. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, I would too. Well, that's the thing is, besides Scarecrow, I think it would be pretty... You wouldn't even have to avoid, like, other villains that Nolan's used. I'm not sure if the other, the few others even immediately go with the, like, year 2 street level wet behind the ears Batman as well as several other things that we could bring up, right? Like, you're not going to want to do Ra's al Ghul right away.
Yeah, and I don't really need him to come back, like, in a movie anytime soon. Like, I'm kind of cool with what we got. It's kind of like...
And I like Harvey Dent in, like, a movie or 2 or 3 before we get to Two-Face. It'd be nice if somebody finally did that.
I'd also like to see a Two-Face movie where he just is the villain the whole time,
yeah,
and, like, he's the main villain.
But are you with me that we could play with the character for a while first?
No,
right?
Absolutely. I'm kind of surprised that he hasn't been cast for the Batman.
Or you could do it like Gotham, where you could introduce him, and then you could constantly do visual metaphors about duality, and then forget that you ever introduced him and not actually pay off the duality thing because he never became Two-Face. I don't know what happened with that.
I like that idea. I think that's a cool idea.
And by cool, he means really stupid.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna watch one more episode.
What we have to do is Hugo Strange. It's time to finally do him.
No, it is. Yeah, absolutely. And that also seems like the right place to do that character too. So Vendetta is the last episode we're gonna watch together tonight, folks.
Heck yeah.
Also chosen by Austin.
Because Killer Croc is the man.
And this one's not immediately jumping out at me either, just based on episode. You said Killer Croc, and like I'm not visualizing an episode. Which one is this?
This is the one where he frames Bullock. This is his first episode.
Oh, okay. And we'll see you later. Bye-bye. So yeah, another one that I've definitely done a commentary on before. It's another Rupert Thorne episode. We got that in common with several. I think half of our episodes tonight have had Rupert Thorne in them. Well, I hope you guys have had a good time with us tonight. Appreciate you spending some time with us once again. This one is episode 21 of season 1 according to HBO Max.
Oh, Mad Hatter.
RJ Godzilla says, sorry, I'm out. Do you just not want to watch Vendetta?
No one understands my love of Killer Croc.
Leonard Vole, Hugo Strange, Mad Hatter, Croc are easy villains that should be properly done. I
absolutely
agree with at least Hugo Strange and Croc. I don't know that I agree that Mad Hatter is an easy villain. I think that's a tougher thing to stick the landing and feel like the definitive version of, I think. And honestly, I have a real, like, selfish personal reason to not want that character done necessarily right now, because I'm just so freaking sick of Alice in Wonderland being the only literary thing we ever reference in anything right now. I'm done with it. So if you did a Mad Hatter that was like a creepy, twisted version of the Mad Hatter from the 60s Batman show, where it has nothing at all to do with Alice in Wonderland and he's just got hats that hypnotize people, I'll take that. Because a literal hatter, sure, but I'm done with Alice in Wonderland. I'm done with it.
I think if they ever do Mad Hatter, it'll be like kind of what they're doing with the Penguin, where he wouldn't be the main villain, but he would just be a villain in the movie. I also would like to see Scarface show up in a movie. like the ventriloquist.
I would too.
They
They
and
did him in
Man-Bat.
Gotham. That was weird.
Oh really? I've not seen.
He
that
was in the
far
last
yet.
season.
Yeah, I've seen the first 2 seasons.
Let's do a
and
marathon of that.
Clayface. There are too many villains that Batman villains that need to be in movies. But mainly, I need a good Killer Croc because I was slitting my wrists the entire time watching Suicide Squad, being like, "This could be the only Killer Croc I get in live action."
Okay, but cry me a river, because how do you think I felt about the entire team of Birds of Prey?
I love Killer Croc way more than you love Birds of Prey, sir. I challenge that.
That's probably true, but it's at the very least it's at least a wash in like number of characters.
Yeah.
That were
No,
just
I have, like, a
completely
really
ruined
weird,
that we might never see in movies again.
Yeah, no, I have a very weird, strange love for Killer Croc, and I don't really know why. But yeah, I don't know. I wrote a Batman pitch at one point, and he was my main villain. And I was like, I just need Killer Croc. I don't know why, but he's awesome, and nobody likes that character.
Well, sorry.
Even last time we talked,
now I'm wallowing in depression again over Birds of Prey.
I watched that again the other day.
You alright?
No.
No, you're not. No, Austin messaged me. He was like, I don't know why we did this.
Well, because I thought it'd be really funny, and then it just kind of wasn't.
No, I don't want to watch that again.
Noah was the one who suggested
I'll
it.
have PTSD. I can't have it. Okay, let's go ahead and watch Vendetta, folks. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Get ready to press play as soon as I say now. Once again, it's episode 21 of Season 1 according to HBO Max, and if you need a timestamp, let us know in the comments. Here we go, everybody. Please press play right now. You know, I was going to finally start putting a timer on the screen for commentaries. I keep meaning to do that. Somebody suggested that a couple months ago, and I keep meaning to do I forgot all about it. But I will do that.
Thank you, Robert Wilde. I'm glad I'm not the only one. And that is true. AMC Comics. Christian Bale did, I guess, technically fight a Killer Croc because he's in Gotham Knights. That whole thing's
Plushies
weird.
DX. Bane is not a ripoff of Croc. I can't meet you there.
Every villain is a ripoff of
Go
Killer Croc.
go read the original setup for Bane, Vengeance of Bane, and get back to me. That's a completely different character.
Noah, get out of here with your kidding. You were like, let's watch Birds of Prey. Get out of here with this, sir.
You ruined his whole evening, maybe his whole month.
But you also then improved it because after we watched Birds of Prey, you said, let's watch the B movie, and the B movie was legitimately delightful.
By legitimately, you mean ironically, right?
No. It was actually pretty good.
No, it's not. There's no way.
No, okay, the B movie I thought was gonna be really stupid, but it ended up actually being really creative. And
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it really reminded me that I just like bees. I think bees are really cool.
He's definitely. Why is Don Knotts in this episode? What is Gordon drinking? That coffee is 200 degrees.
It's it's smoldering like the flames of Isengard. Robert Wilde, do you prefer Killer Croc with or without a tail?
Why is
Definitely
Montoya
without.
dressed as a nun? That's going to be this entire commentary for me. I'm just going to ask questions.
Why does that guy have a gun?
Why does that guy have that mustache, though?
That's
Why does he have a Genghis Khan mustache?
Why does Fu Manchu?
Fu Manchu, yeah, exactly.
It's Christopher Lee's Fu Manchu.
The color choices with that's awesome. That fire.
Oh, the orange on Batman
looks so good. What's that?
Yeah.
No, I mean on the fire itself, like.
Oh, yeah, that too. That's okay. We survived.
We
the
saved
explosion.
Don Knotts. He's okay.
We're not dead.
Blue Dragon 5 says Spider Conway is a nod to Jerry Conway. Good call. Leonard Full, I came late to the stream. What other episodes did they do? Well, we did a couple things that somebody on Patreon requested. So we did Bane and Time Out of Joint, and then we did What is Reality and Second Chance and Dreams of Darkness, and now we're doing Vendetta. So 6 episodes in total this evening.
Robert Wild, I don't know if I've seen Killer Croc in the Batman. I watched that show here and there as a kid. That's not a show I know super well, though. I haven't seen it either.
And I've never seen all of it. I was going
Neither
through
have
it like last year. I think I got to part of season 4, but I was watching it, sometimes somewhat in the background and over a long period of time. Like occasionally I'd put it in for 3 or 4 episodes, so I don't know it real well.
It just came out on Blu-ray recently, I think. That was also part of why I mentioned we should do that for when the movie comes out.
We also picked episodes with really nice lightning effects.
No, this is a really good-looking episode.
And one of my favorite Batman poses in the show is when he is... God, that's cool. I've already seen 4 or 5 poster-worthy shots in the show that I would just pin up someplace.
That was great.
But I love that pose that Batman does a lot in the show, where it's like a side profile, and he's like crouched, and then the cape is coming out this way. This show loves that shot.
Yeah. This show is the reason
Is he gonna put a flashlight in his mouth?
Characters like Batman standing on the edge of a building with their cape flowing off into the wind off the building.
Yeah.
When I was a kid and used to do my own comics, and they were clearly just rip-offs of different characters, my Batman character always had that, where he would sit on the edge of a building and his cape would flow off it.
Yeah.
Just because it's a cool image, and it just always
it'd be absurdly long.
Exactly.
Impractically long.
I would do
it's the Brayfogle thing,
where it was just ridiculously long.
I love that. That's the McFarlane thing and the Brayfogle thing.
Yeah. Because it was just so fun to draw. Yeah. Absolutely. That's where it's at.
Is this the first episode where we find out that's how we get into the Batcave, or
it might be?
Because that's a continuity thing with Perchance to Dream.
Because
he tries it and it doesn't open.
I was about to say Alfred, where's the entrance to the Batcave?
Unknown passenger, I haven't mentioned Gordon's ice cream hair yet, because it just seemed obligatory. I always bring that up. But yes, Gordon has ice cream hair. It looks
mouth
like...
was watering when he was on.
He looks like an ice cream cone. People always... complain, and they're right, and it looks like we're finally gonna maybe remedy it in the Batman, but people always complain that the problem with live-action Batman movies and a lot of iterations of Batman is that we forget that he's a detective. But I would go even farther than that. We forget... I think the main reason this show was as successful as it was, not just going to an old-school, timeless look that is kind of based on Fleischer Superman, but adapting that to the darker, more foreboding thing that Batman is. It's not just detective, it's film noir. And that's the thing I don't think people bring up enough. That, classic Batman is a film noir as much as it's a detective story. And obviously, film noir tends to be detective stuff. There's a lot of different kinds of detective fiction. I think, visually and tonally, Batman is inherently a film noir. Not a thing that comes up that often.
That's one of the biggest holdbacks I have with Nolan, is that I think trying to make Batman more realistic in that way is inherently kind of wrong, if that makes sense, where it's you need this level of what's the word, I'm blanking
just
on
heightenedness.
Heightenedness.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the Batman is also going for a more grounded tone, but it hasn't lost that sense of atmosphere. And when you have a main character that dresses up like a bat that scares people, it's inherently there in the premise. Like,
Yeah. Well, and I think Begins got that.
it more so than the other two, but I still
Yeah.
think it's not fully there for me. But I do like those movies.
I
like
think it was
movies
there
despite-
enough for an origin thing, but it needed to push it further, and you had every reason to think that it would when you get to the end of that movie with the Joker card and all that. It's like, this is going to blossom into a comic book universe. And then that's not exactly what happened, as much as I like Dark Knight. But that's because you had a guy directing and co-writing those that was never going to make a film noir. That's not where he lives. He wants to make James Bond movies. And James Bond is, as in its own way, absurd and heightened as it is a more realistic looking thing. If you want to make a spy movie and it's Batman, it's not going to be the same sort of heightened.
And I'm glad ultimately that, you know, this is the way that Batman's going, because I don't know if you've heard recently Matt Reeves talk about the Affleck script.
Yeah.
But he described it as being a James Bond script, but with Batman, and he looked at it and was like, this isn't what I like about Batman.
Yeah.
And went to WB about it.
And also,
I'm
you can
glad,
do
'cause I
that,
didn't
but we've
need
already kind of
another-
done that.
Exactly. I don't
It's time
need
to take it back to
James
brass
Bond Batman.
tacks.
And for me, like, my Batman's never been put on screen. Like, mine is that detective version. Exactly what you're saying, too, with the noir stuff. So I'm glad that we're getting something that looks like my Batman now.
And for me, it's a thing that looks like it's a lot closer to my Batman, but it might be darker and rougher than what I really want.
That's fair, too.
And we'll see how all of that ends up going. But, like, the thing is, my Batman is not Miller. And this looks very Miller to me. Like Year One Miller, not Dark Knight Returns Miller. And that's the Miller Batman I like the most, but it's not it's not exactly what I want. I mean, I basically want this adapted in live action. More or less.
No, there was a TV spot recently. I think I told you about this. Of the Batman. It's just him walking around a room with a flashlight, and I freaked out. I was like, there we go. And
no, and I'm with you there.
I agree. Like, it's never going to be
Bullock is a Spawn character, or is that's not Bullock?
That's Killer Croc.
Oh, that is Croc. Okay, is it Croc pretending to be Bullock?
That there's a toy of this, and that's awesome.
Is there really?
You have Killer Croc in Bullock's clothes.
What? Doesn't he
awesome.
look like a Spawn character?
No, he absolutely does.
We need issues and issues of Croc on his way to Gotham in, like, the last page of every issue.
So this is the opposite of Bane,
like with
showing up in a
Cyborg.
tuxedo, right? Where, like, this is a super cool image, while that was very silly.
Exactly. Well, it helps that it's shot in silhouette the way it is, because if we saw it in broad daylight, it would look silly. Like,
It's kind of like that in Almost Got Him, where it's Killer Croc and then the lights like flash off and it's the silhouette of Batman.
and it doesn't matter that it doesn't make sense. It's
No, because it's stylized.
Yep, exactly.
Like I said
Oh,
earlier.
I meant to say this. Sorry, I meant to say this earlier about the newspapers. The newspaper always uses the font of the show, and I think that's really funny.
That is really funny, yeah. But no,
Look,
like I
a
said
tiny
earlier,
glove!
Like, Batman is inherently stylized. Stuff like that is fine. Like, Mask of the Phantasm, for example, has a scene where
My wife
Bruce
hates
Wayne-
it when I do that. She
you
walks in a room. I'm busy. Yeah.
especially
kidding.
when she's
I don't
trying
do
to
that.
give you delicious soup like that.
My wife knows to not bring me soup, delicious or otherwise. I don't like soup. I only like one kind of soup, and that's egg drop soup with Chinese food. But I don't like regular soup.
She walks in and she's like, "Master husband, I brought you your sweet delicious soup," and you're like, "Arr, I'm working."
Who is that supposed to be? Ah. Oh,
Mirror.
okay. Bruce Wayne That is way too easy. This is such a cool shot.
The best part about that, Cap, is not even that he was in Ocean World. It's the fact that they gave him the most basic information, and he goes, "Of course,
I figured it out now."
It's just crocodiles like to live in underwater.
But yeah, this color palette is so cool. We so rarely see Batman underwater, and the few times they do it in this show, they always go way all out to make it look as realistic as they can. And you get the cool rippling effect, and like that was insane.
They've got like the Captain Clown episode where he like swims up. Yeah.
But they had a shot that was insane because there was like this really cool shadow work on top of he's all blue because he's underwater, and there's the rippling effect in front of the cockpit of the Batboat. And also, they don't use the Batboat hardly at all in the show, and it's a really good design that nobody ever talks about because it's hardly ever utilized, but it looks great. I forgot about it. It's really pretty.
Mm-hmm. No, it's awesome.
I have something in common with Plushy DX because he doesn't like soup either.
I have something in common with Nikki T because my message is retracted.
Did you retract your message? Batman, you gotta do what Sonic does and go find an air bubble. The meanest dude. Why do you like this character so much? I don't understand.
He's just cool. I don't know. I think it's because it's Batman and it mixes into some of my horror sensibilities.
Oh, that's a great line. He just tried to drown Batman. He gets up, he says, "Don't hold your breath." What a good one-liner. That's wonderful. I think the design for Croc in this show does a good job of splitting the middle, especially in an era where the comics could not decide what the heck that character was. Somewhere in between, he's an actual crocodile man, or he has a skin condition. Because he doesn't have, like, a snout thing. He's not, like, overly massive, but he does have, you know, like, some bumps on his head, and he looks kind of, you know, lizard-like.
Yeah, and that's kind of like with Lizard and Spider-Man, I want like all out, you know, like the big snout and everything. With Killer Croc, I just want it to be a guy with a skin condition. So the less lizardy he is, the more I like Killer Croc. Like I said, I don't need Killer Croc to have a tail or anything.
Okay,
like
he should have a cape though. Now that I've seen that, I want him to just always have that.
I want to see Killer Croc fight Macho Man Randy Savage as Bonesaw.
I got you for 3 minutes. Well, you know what? Never mind. I don't want to fight that.
I'm gonna throw a rock at you.
I still think it's so funny that the most memorable line for people from Killer Croc in this show wasn't even Croc. It was Batman pretending to be Killer Croc.
But he's that good of an actor.
That's not good of an actor. Batman's such a good actor that if he's pretending to be Killer Croc and you swing a light at him, he can make his silhouette change from Batman to Croc.
Yeah. Alfred's a good teacher. He taught him how to act.
I don't know if you noticed this, but it seems like the police department has changed shape and size as often as the Batcomputer does. Oh, there was a guy in the audience there that looked like Harvey Dent.
Harvey Dent? I was just about to say. He was like a less detailed Harvey Dent.
Yeah, there was this ambiguously maybe black guy in the audience that looked like Harvey Dent. AMC, this voice is a good deal more iconic for me than his TNBA voice, as much as I generally preferred TNBA. I don't remember what he sounded like in New Batman Adventures.
I didn't realize he had a different voice.
Yeah,
I really like this voice actor.
I've never been a big fan of this voice because I don't tend to care for voices.
It's just because I grew up with it, and it's like.
No, that's totally cool. I mean, I grew up with it too. This character was always kind of, with respect to you, and this is a good episode. He was always kind of nothing to me. Like,
no, he's a villain like nobody cares about. That's just something I accept.
Is it one of the big things that draws you to it, where it's like nobody else cares about this guy? I'm gonna adopt him like a stray dog.
No, there's just something about him where like he shows up and stuff, and I'm like, Killer Croc is cool. Like, as a kid, my favorite part of Arkham Asylum was always the Killer Croc segment, even though I know a lot of people think it's tedious. Like I said, there was Killer Croc played very much into my horror sensibilities, and especially when I was younger and didn't know that that's what I was into.
Yeah.
Where it was almost like a gateway into that stuff. I also really like Man-Bat, and I think that's part of it too.
I like Man-Bat a lot too, but I like the Jekyll and Hyde thing inherently.
Well, no, and that's cool. Yeah.
And the, like, misfit monster creature that's, like, shunned by society because he's misunderstood. Like, that's never deeply resonated with me, like some other things. And there's also... I mean, you could say that there's too many Jekyll Hyde characters. I mean, that's totally fair. But I feel like this kind of character is a dime a dozen, and there's not a deep psychology behind it. I guess is my thing. I don't mean to say I only like characters you can do character studies with, but look, black and red again.
Well, and it makes sense, like, even for me...
This is an image we love in the show, by the way, is Batman with red eyes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Even, like, with me, though, with my Batman pitch, like, Killer Croc's the main villain, but it's not like a character study thing, it is more of, like, a mystery.
Yeah.
So absolutely,
but it's
Leonard
weird.
Vole,
like, sorry, just talking about the Croc like shunned, misfit thing, like mutant, nobody understands. I mean, that's basically what Burton tried to turn Penguin into. He could have just used Killer Croc. He already had that, like.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody at that point knew who Killer Croc was.
Nobody cared about Killer Croc. Yeah.
You still at that point you still had to use characters that people knew from the '60s show, but made them dark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of crazy that we were gonna get Scarecrow, because that would have been their first villain that was besides Two-Face, but Two-Face isn't the main villain of Forever. But their first main villain that wasn't from the '60s show.
Yeah, because I guess we did the same thing with Batman and Robin, because Batman and Robin is in every way like the cookie cutter story and all the details of Batman Forever, but somehow even less sophisticated than that movie and more of a cartoon. But
more awesome.
But yeah, we do that there too with Poison Ivy, who was not in that show, but Mr. Freeze, who was.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah, that's true.
To think about her.
Yeah.
Leonard Vole asked if I like Killer Croc in Arkham Knight. I do not. I really like him in Arkham Asylum, and I like his cameo.
I don't even remember what they did with him in Knight.
He's in a DLC storyline.
I think Bullock needs to be careful not to accidentally blow his own face off with his gun. He's just, like, throwing his gun around in front of his face while he's talking.
He's like Chief Wiggum. So you don't remember Killer Croc's redesign in Arkham Knight?
I don't.
Here, I
not
will
right
send
off.
this to you. They do a whole thing where he's in like a prison blimp that crashes into Gotham in like this DLC story, and he's been experimented on and turned more into a lizard, and I've never really liked that.
Oh, okay.
Somebody I really earlier liked his design the first two.
I meant to answer this. Somebody earlier asked me if this is neither here nor there, but if I was gonna get the pop figure from Space Jam 2 of Bugs Bunny as Batman, and yeah, it counts. I will get that at some point. I've been avoiding it because it's a 2-pack, and I don't want the LeBron James as Robin in pop form, because where am I gonna put that? But
oh, that's awful.
I can only get it as a 2-pack, so I'm going to have to buy LeBron James along with Bugs Bunny. Doesn't it seem inevitable that they would do that with Croc, though, considering that, like, they did that with a lot of things with those games where it was like, here's a big character, we got to make it bigger. Like,
yeah, it's just unfortunate because I really like the design that he has in Asylum and City.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. It's a good design.
His design in Origins is also not as good, but it's not as bad as it is in Night, which I sent you on Discord.
Oh. Okay. I guess I can pull that up real quick. And then we'll call it a night. Thanks a lot for being here, folks. We went pretty late because we really took our time between episodes. But it was a lot of fun just casually hanging out with you, Austin, watching some Batman.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it was RJ Godzilla told me to stop talking and keep watching, so I am sorry about that.
He's like, I was never going to do that, though.
No, I don't care.
But this was a really cool, eclectic assortment of episodes that we wound up with. Because a couple people, before we started, were like, oh, wow, there's, like, some deep pulls here. It's not, like, all the stuff that you would expect. And I'm glad that we didn't just go to all the big mainstays. Because we've done a lot of content on those before, and I was even blindsided by a couple episodes. Like, I forgot this was this good, or, like, we don't talk enough about... Because we picked a couple of episodes that should be classics but aren't talked about enough, especially Second Chance. And then we did have a top 10 episode, or an episode that I picked, that I put on a top 10 once, but it wasn't Perchance to Dream or one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Or Almost Got Him, or... and we didn't do any Joker episode. We didn't see Joker except in a dream sequence. Or a hallucination this entire time. Not even voiced by Hamill!
Yeah, no, because I just picked episodes based on villains that I think are cool.
I don't remember this. Sorry, I don't remember this Croc design at all. He looks like a Ghostbusters villain.
Did you not have the... what was that DLC called? It was the one... There was like a 4-pack. It was like 4 different villains. There was Killer Croc, Ra's al Ghul, Mr. Freeze, and Mad Hatter. Did you have that DLC? We had like each story with them.
Hold on, I was trying to show this to the audience, but I'm having a hard time getting this thing to...
Yeah, no worries.
Go where I want it to. I don't know what DLC you're talking about.
They did like a story DLC where they added side missions, and there was one for each of those 4 villains. In the Ra's al Ghul one, you just like straight up kill him. It's a little weird, but...
I didn't play all the DLC for that game, so I probably didn't.
Yeah, that DLC, from what I remember, is not amazing.
Yeah, it looks ridiculous. Look at that.
There is some cool
That's
stuff.
That's very silly.
Yeah, no, I don't like that Killer Croc design at all.
Yeah. No, it looks really goofy. Mm. Why does he look all... He looks like a pufferfish. He looks like somebody got out a bike pump and filled him full of air.
Yeah, because it's like the whole thing is that they were like messing around with him, and he's like he escaped and he's
Season
like
of Infamy apparently is what that DLC was called.
That is, yeah. Somebody mentioned Mr. Freeze. Robert Wild says he didn't mind the Mr. Freeze part. That is probably the best one. He like sacrifices himself to save his wife in that. The Mad Hatter one was all right too. You've got like an interesting mechanic where you're like literally in a pop-up book, and like you're fighting, and then like the page will turn.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's basically all they did for that one, for the Mad Hatter part. It was basically, you remember in Arkham City where you do like the Mad Hatter fight? It was basically like an expanded version of that, except instead of like falling, it's you're in a pop-up book. And then the Mr. Freeze, or the Ra's al Ghul one's probably the longest.
Well, and I've only done the side missions with Arkham City one time. Every other time I've gone back to that game, I've just played through the story and didn't do all the other stuff. Oh, really? So
I always 100% it every time, so I just assumed that you were more used to that stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm not good at video games, and it takes me too long to get through them, and I have a horrible sense of direction, and also I have a lot of kids, and I don't have as much time to put into games as you do, so yeah. I mean, I've gone back to City...
I also like was a kid when those came out, so like Arkham Asylum and City I played a lot. Like as a kid I'd be like, I got nothing to do this weekend. I'm just gonna run through Arkham Asylum for like the 800th time and see how fast I can do it. So there's like specific things that I can basically speed run in that game because I've done it so many times.
I've always wanted 100%. I've never 100%ed any of the Arkham games.
Oh,
Partly
Arkham
because
Knight's
I'm
a pain in the ass.
partly, yeah, I was gonna say partly because I'm terrible at Riddler trophies.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
So
I don't know if
many
I
of the
could ever
Riddler
get all
trophies
of that.
In Asylum, I can pick up on the first run unless you like need a gadget for it, because I got so good at just knowing where that stuff is and to be able to get upgrades faster. I don't know. I would do like a lot of just crazy stuff with that game where I'd be like, I'm gonna play this, but I'm never gonna use detective vision. Just like run through it like that, just different challenges.
But then Spider-Man PS4, I got like 99. Like, I got real close to 100%ing that.
That game is, I think, one of the easiest. I'm not.
No, but I'm with you. I mean, it was pretty easy to 100%. That's what I'm saying, is it wasn't hard to 100%.
Yeah, no, I had that for a week, and I got the platinum trophy. And I've almost never gotten platinum trophies for games because I don't care enough to do like the grinding stuff for, like the kind of achievement stuff.
Yeah.
But it was like super easy.
Well, this stream was somehow 3.5 hours long. I don't know how that happened, but I hope you guys had fun hanging out with us. We had a good time. I'm going to be streaming again tomorrow night, doing some Power Rangers stuff. So anybody that likes Power Rangers or is curious about the board game, I'm going to do some solo mode for the Power Rangers board game. But I'm also going to, between turns, just do a little bit of general Q&A and stuff. So I'll be looking at the chat periodically and talking to you guys about whatever you want to in between turns. We're having a good time. We're just going to hang out and play a board game together, and it will be a lot of fun. So pop in, won't you? 10 o'clock tomorrow night is when that'll be happening, and it might just be on YouTube. It might be simulcast with another platform. I'm not sure yet. I'm on the fence about the simulcasting thing I've been doing lately for a couple of different reasons. Inside baseball, it's whatever. But it will be on YouTube regardless of whether it's somewhere else. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll see you again real soon. I was Captain Logan, and this was Austin. The day goes!
I'm going to Disney World.
You didn't, like, accomplish anything. I don't know. I mean, I guess you made it through the stream. Hey, Austin, what are you... You have to wait till somebody says, what are you gonna do now? See.
Oh, sorry. Well, that's, like, the biggest issue is that, I'll go for a job interview, and they're like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And then I just go, I'm going to Disney World.
And then he just confuses everybody when he goes, oh, wait, I thought you said, what will you be doing for 10 years? He's just going to perpetually be at Disney World.
Yeah. No, do you know how cool Disney World is? They have cotton candy. I assume.
Plushie SDX, what game? I'm going to be doing the Power Rangers tabletop miniatures game, which is a big hobby of mine and a thing that I haven't put on camera in a long time because I haven't had time, but I used to periodically do playthroughs for that. They just put out an official solo mode for that, which I've been wanting to try out. I'm going to look over the modified rules for that and then put a game together. But I've been painting figures for that, and I'm all in on that game. I have 100% of it. There's
100% a game.
There's well, I have 100% bought everything. I still haven't actually played with everything. But Austin, that game is so expansive now. There are 65 Rangers to choose from now.
That's crazy. That's awesome that it's
and it will be to 70 when or more when the next wave comes out. But the last wave had 16.
I wonder.
Not to mention bosses and monsters.
Talking about this a few months ago, but I wonder if that Mortal Kombat one ever came out. That kind of like
yeah, because that was supposed to be a Kickstarter thing. Didn't we look into that and it had died?
Maybe.
We'll have to look at that. I forget now.
Yeah. I won't look it up on stream because
yeah, we're gonna go ahead and close shop here. But again, I'm gonna be doing a casual stream tomorrow night, playing a board game and talking to you guys if you want to come in and hang out, and I hope you will. And In the meantime, we'll see you later. Bye, folks.
I'm gonna go watch Peacemaker.